Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the future and how as you grow older you start to lose track of what's going on in the now, and it starts to become a little bit overwhelming with regards to what's going on. Now, I'm obviously not an old person, right? But I've never really been very good at keeping up with the times. I've never been good at keeping up with the new technology. I didn't get a smartphone until 2016. And that was only so that I could text one person, like WhatsApp text one person. If it hadn't been for that, I might not have got a smartphone for another 3 years after that. And I remember when I got the smartphone, I really didn't want it. I felt like I was giving in to this larger, quite evil entity, this evil presence that seems to infest and infect everybody. Because you go on the train or whatever, and you see everybody out there is on the train is kind of like this, you know, just scrolling through endless feeds and so on and so forth. And you know, I did all that on the computer, but I didn't want to have the ability to access that whenever I wanted. And obviously, I could have gone for one of those sort of smart/dumb phones, or I could have like gone through all the settings and turned off all the internet. But you don't really do that. Like, I've done all sorts. At the moment, I keep my phone in French time. I'm obviously not in France, right? But I use my phone 1 hour ahead, so I keep it on French time, right? And the reason that I do that is that it kind of forces my brain to go to bed a little bit earlier, and it forces my body clock to be a little bit out of sync with what it should be, because otherwise I'm a total night owl. So it's kind of killing an hour at the end point of the day and adding one at the beginning point of the day. So for me, that kind of works. Before that, I had a long phase where I had the phone in black and white, because obviously all the apps and stuff on your phone, they all have big bright colors. It's the same reason McDonald's has big red and big yellow letters, right? Because the really bright, high contrast, highly saturated colors really draw you in. The same way that your eyes are probably being drawn to the buses right there. Actually, I'm not going to point, because your eyes are naturally being drawn to the buses that are behind me, because they're brightly colored and they're distinct. That's why advertising works so well, is because it's distinctive in a world of gray. It's color in, you know, amidst all the sepia tone sort of stuff. And it's useful in regards to what the company needs for their own sake of profit and revenue and so on. It clearly works on an analytical and engagement point of view. But for your own mental well-being, I feel like you should try and shut out as much of this stuff as possible. And with regards to shutting it out, that kind of entails not keeping up with the times. But at the same time, you can't not keep up with the times, because then you end up getting further and further removed from reality as it kind of is. And it's important to try and stay grounded in the world that you've got around you. Like, I don't know if any of you have got a friend who's like way more into tech than you, and it feels like whenever you go to see them, it's like they're living in the future and they've always got some new bit of tech to show you. I've got a couple of friends that are kind of like that. I remember I went to one of their houses and he brought out a VR headset, right? And I kind of thought, oh, okay, I'll give VR a go. I wasn't expecting much out of it. So I stuck the VR on, and it put me through this sort of I think it was the metaverse thing, right? So I put it on, and the metaverse, whoosh, like that. And it was like being in, what's the film? Ready, Set, Kill, Ready, Set, Go. The Steven Spielberg thing where it's all about the lads that live in the video game, right? It was all kind of feeling like that. And then he made me play this game where I played some kind of gorilla, and basically how it worked is I had to kind of do that, boom, wa-boom, to kind of move around, right? And sort of bounce and hop from spot to spot. And I was wandering around, and it was all these kind of PS1 kind of graphics, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. And then this random kid just came screeching up to me. I scream, right? And he just starts teaching me how to play the game. And I'm kind of like, look, honestly, I am not the person that you want to be doing this to. I am a lost cause, right? I haven't really progressed past 2015. I feel like the last innovation that I really need in my life was Google Drive. Google Drive has been really useful for me. I back so much stuff on that. I've got like a few different Google accounts, and I use them for different things. Some to store music, some to store old bits of video, some to store like stuff that I'm going to send to clients, etc., etc. And it's useful in that regard. The cloud sharing thing is a godsend, because the alternative would be having to send mail USBs or external hard drives and stuff, and that would require, one, I have to buy the hard drives, two, I've got to pay for the shipping, and three, I've got to wait. And honestly, fuck all of that. So, you know, technology is good and technology is useful, and I want to try and keep up with the times, but I think it's important to not allow the extreme amount of new things that are going on, because if you allow yourself to be immersed in the new, right? There's always a new thing coming out. There's a new PS5 coming out, PS5 Pro. It might already be out, I'm not sure. There's a new Xbox coming out. There's a like Switch 2, I think that's out. There's like new Mario games, and getting away from video games for a sec. There's all the VR, and then there's all the Oculus stuff, and then there's that like Elon Musk chip in the brain thing. I think he's been starting on that. There's all the going up to the moon, like all the SpaceX stuff. There's so much stuff. There's, you know, the upgrades with regards to cars, you know, electric cars and then hybrids, and they're getting more and more efficient and all this sort of stuff. There's so much going on in terms of progress. The cost of solar panels has just is plummeted. And there's so much going on that if you were to take someone from the year 2000 and plonk them in this world now with all of these fucking things, yeah, sure, they might have a bit of experience with a Motorola or like a Sony Xperia, although that was slightly after the year 2000. You know, they have a little bit of experience with mobile phones and stuff, but you bring one of these fuckers out to them, they're not going to know what to do. Right? They're not going to understand Facebook. Like, yeah, sure, they might have had, I think even MySpace wasn't around then, but you know, they vaguely had a sense through AOL and stuff like that of the ideas of what social media could do. But seeing the overwhelming innovation that has come from the social media landscape, I mean, look at the way that communities come together all across the world on platforms like TikTok, when you've got like those TikTok lives and all that kind of stuff. You've got live streamers on Twitch that people gravitate towards, and it's like their comfort thing, and they go to that live streamer again and again and again, and they form little communities and they make friends with one another. And you know, I've heard of people that have gotten married that originally met on the internet. I've known a couple couples that met on Tinder. I've met a couple people that have met like originally just texting on Discord and stuff like that, and then they came together in real life and they found that they really liked each other's company, and then they shifted from an online relationship, not as in like necessarily a romantic relationship, but just a relationship in general of like how you might have a relationship with anybody, even an acquaintance. They've gone from that to an in real life one. Now personally, I will always say that an in real life relationship is vastly superior to an online relationship, but that's not to say that online relationships don't have their own intrigues to them. Partly what's so amazing is that I can just talk to anybody across the world. I know a couple people at the moment from this channel who got in touch. They live in Tokyo, and we've kind of been talking and had a couple like Discord calls and stuff like that. And it's really cool to hear about the Tokyo sort of world because it's so vastly different from mine, and seeing it from their perspective, because they're just a guy on the ground the way that I'm a guy on the ground in London. You know, and all they might see of London is, you know, various influencers hanging around, you know, Westminster or Abbey Road or whatever, and they only see that. They don't see the real London that I see. So I can sort of put my experiences towards them, and they can put their experiences towards me. And I feel like for a collectivization of the human race, the internet is quite a good thing. But I feel like as we progress into the future, things are only going to get faster and faster with the advent of AI, with the advent of VR, with the advent of all these weird new technologies and like mechanoid robots and stuff that are all like automating the industrial processes and stuff like that. We're going to have to figure out something with regards to how we're going to keep everyone employed and in work and all that sort of stuff. You know, because obviously we know we've had various industrial revolutions or enlightenments before, and we managed to overcome them, but this is kind of a bit different because of just the sheer scale of it. But then the Industrial Revolution was a massive scale shift, and we managed to overcome that. So there's so many different questions that go into what the future is. It's such an uncertain thing. The past is more or less certain. All we can disagree on is like, did this happen or did this happen? But at some point, one of those things did happen. There is a fixed reality of history, same way there's a fixed reality of the present. There is no fixed reality with regards to the future. The future is whatever we can make of it. And as a human race, we're doing a hell of a lot more than you could ever fully realize, because you ever get the science and technology recommendations on your phone, and or like the new, like, I don't know, the new iPhone news, and like you see what the new phones can do. Most phones don't look like this, with cracks all around the side, and like it's kind of thick, and it's got a headphone jack in it, which actually is quite useful. But you know what? Look at it. Look at the size of that camera. These cameras are tiny, but we're managing to make such interesting technology out of this, and the technology of camera equipment in general is just progressing and progressing and progressing. It's democratizing the film industry, and it's democratizing the way that we can create, and now just any old jack-off can just make whatever they want, hence this video. So there's so much going on with regards to what we can do with ourselves going forwards. But think about this, right? At some point, if you're not already, you're going to be an old person, right? You're not going to be the hip new thing. Something else will be the hip new thing. What's the Grandpa Simpson thing of like, I used to be with it, but then they changed what it is, and then I wasn't with it. And then what was it was weird and scary to me. I completely butchered the quote, but it's that kind of thing. And I feel like you're gonna have to semi-embrace that. You're gonna have to be comfortable with your position in the past, but at the same time, don't block off news from the future, as in what's gonna happen. Don't stop thinking about where the world could go. And I feel like as a human species in general, we should be really looking at the development of our species and our society on a more long-term level. Like, you never hear of anyone seriously talking about what the world will be like in 2200. It's just kind of like ooh, there'll be flying cars, ooh, there'll be like giant skyscrapers, ooh, we'll be a spacefaring like society. We don't know that for a fact, but what can we do to try and get ourselves to those cornerstones when we're at the moment relying on, say, fossil fuels that are going to run out at a certain point, when we're relying on non-renewables and all these sort of things? How are we going to make that transition towards a future? And I don't want to turn this into like, ooh, you need to invest in green energy sort of thing. I'm just sort of saying that you need to prepare for the future so that you can prepare to be complacent with your position in the present, as in the present now. You in the future needs to be complacent with where they are in that present, and they also need to have their same connection to the past. Like, obviously, if you're 50 years old, you've got like a deep connection to like 30 years ago, because that was you when you were like quite young and learning the world that's around you, and you're developing and growing and all that stuff. And now you're taking the lessons that you learned from your youth and applying them to your life as a more matured sort of individual. And then going forward, if you're like 70 or 80 or 90, that's when you're kind of trying to figure out your place in a world that has moved past you. Because say someone that's 90 right now, they were born in 1934, so they would have been turning 18 in 1952. Now, I can't really imagine what 1952 was like, because it's such a vastly different system in general. Like, obviously you have the basics. You've got, you know, your house, and then you leave your house to go to the shop, but then they wouldn't have gone to Sainsbury's or Lidl. They would have gone to the butchers and the bakers and all of these sort of things, and the, you know, that kind of thing. And that's such a different world that when you grow into the 2010s and the 2020s, you're kind of looking at it kind of going, Jesus Christ, smartphones, Sainsbury's, this all feels so weird and foreign to me. And in the year 2080, when I'm 80 years old, it's all going to be the same for me, and I'm going to have to try and adjust to a world that's moved past me, and I'm going to have to try and get used to teleportation devices, or I don't know, chips in the brain, or I don't know, taking a holiday to fucking Mars or Venus or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. We might not even get to that point. We might blow ourselves up in nuclear Armageddon. I'm not sure, because we can't be certain about the future. I mean, isn't the doomsday clock like apparently 40 seconds to midnight? And like, we're all just kind of going along, just driving up and down the road, just like nothing's bothering us. And I mean, driving is one of the most dangerous things you can do. I mean, I remember I was walking through an estate, and there was like an Ocado van, right? It's some like shopping delivery thing that delivers your food for posh people, right? And there was this over sort of drive-through bit like that was like 2 meters tall, and this van just stormed straight through it. It obviously underestimated its height, right? And it slammed straight into it. And I remember seeing that, and it all happened so quickly, and it wasn't like it was a bad crash or anything. I mean, the guy stepped out and he was a bit like, oh my God. And I presume he got fired and maybe like had to pay some money out or whatever. But anyway, I was walking around and I was just looking at all the cars, and I was on the pavement, and I was just thinking at any moment one of them like could just decide to do this and just kill me right like that. And we're all just going up and down like this is normal, you know. And by the same token, we've got nuclear weapons all over the place, and we're just like acting like that's whatever, really. And you know, with the advent of AI, we can program new diseases apparently, and that's fun. So we've got a lot of quite negative things to look forward to in the future, but we've also got a lot of positive things to look forward to in terms of the technology that's going to come around and how we can make use of it. I mean, like, now I've got the smartphone, I'm getting used to it. I kind of like it. It's nice being able to sit on YouTube whenever I want. It's nice being able to check my emails whenever I want. It's nice being able to, I don't know, just scroll through Reddit when I'm waiting for the bus or whatever. It's nice to do these things, but I don't know. part of me feels like I didn't grow past 2015 in terms of, that's when I stopped bothering, checking out the new stuff, right? In terms of technology and the new advents of whatever, right? For me, Google Drive happened, I'm content, right? I don't need anything else. So, but I can't think like that in the long term, because at some point that would mean, like, the equivalent would be, say if it was the year 2040, it would be like someone like me now still using pages and fax. So I can't keep up doing that. At some point I do need to progress and keep up and update my understanding of technology to the new norm, and I have to do that a few times across the span of my life, so that I just stay, like, it's the same way that someone who's 90 gets a smartphone, right? If I was 90 and I was getting a smartphone, it would terrify me. Like, the idea of just pressing the screen, a bit of glass, and a thing updates, like, that's, to me, is just that would be alien technology. I wouldn't be able to get my head around. I wouldn't be able to get my head around the idea that there's just millions of people out there making content on some website called YouTube or TikTok or Twitter or whatever, right? And I can just play it and it just looks like real life in full HD or 4K on this tiny little screen that's that thick. I wouldn't know how to cope with that. That'd be really, really, really weird. And, you know, I can just sit here and just kind of wander through my phone and just kind of scroll up and down and go, oh, yep, okay, blah, 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 okay, bored. And then you get bored and complacent with this new technology, and at some point there's going to be crazy things that, you know, like the smartphone to someone living in 1960 is a major development. That's like science fiction. That's more than science fiction, because you look at the science fiction then, they've all got like big CRT TV screens, and we've actually more developed than the science fiction of the day thought we would get to. We're going to get to the point where all of this stuff is old hat. And this looks like the giant supercomputers that sent man to the moon. And this will look like your big box TVs that were in black and white. This is going to be that kind of technology. And I can't fathom what that is going to look like. And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to keep up with that. But I'm going to have to try. But at the same time, I've got to try and shut out the noise of the stuff that doesn't matter to me and focus on the stuff that does, as regarding technology. Because I can't go through life and not try and keep up to date, because otherwise I'll end up out of touch, and that's going to become a bit of a problem in the long run, because I've got the rest of life to look forward to, and if not me, then someone else has a whole, like, another 70 years of this that they've got to live through, and that's 70 years of development. 70 years ago, it was 1954, right? That is a long time ago. That's an incredibly long time ago. And 70 years from now, it's going to be the year 2094. The same stretch of time, right? And what's going to be the technology in 2094? I couldn't fucking tell you. No one could tell you. And if you're watching this in the year 2094, then look at the thing you're watching this on and go, oh yeah. Maybe you're watching it like through your eyes, and your eyes have screens in them. Or maybe it's like you can taste the video, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you're fully immersed in this thing and like AI has like extrapolated this entire world, and you can jump into my world and see what's going on over there, and you can just walk around. And they've managed to take Google Maps Street View and turn it into something that's applicable in every single place, in every single house, on every single street, in every single country, is completely accessible, and everything can be seen by everybody. Maybe that's what people mean when they say privacy is dying, and maybe by the time that I'm 90, there will be no such thing as privacy anymore. Or maybe it will go completely the other way around, and there'll be some kind of privacy revolution, and everyone will become completely shut in, and no one will really talk to each other. Maybe it will go so far the other extreme. I don't know. I really don't have a clue. But I just know that I've got to keep up. I've got to keep up with what's going on, because if I don't, then I'm just gonna be... You see wretched, like, people that are just like really miserable and just like moaning about the modern world and all this sort of stuff, and you just look at them and you're like, oh, come on, the modern world's not that bad. Like, I know I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be moaning about the politics of the day in the year 2070, and my grandkid will go, Granddaddy, can you stop bitching and moaning, please? And I'll be there like, yeah, but you don't understand what it was like in my day. Back in my day, we had to, like, I don't know, we had to make YouTube videos for a living. or whatever, I don't know. Or, you know, we had to actually work and graft, but then, you know, people for me now are saying the same thing. And then I bet people back then, their grandparents or their great-grandparents were saying the same thing, and so on and so forth, back through the ages. So people don't change, it's just the circumstances change. Like, would I be the same person 100 years ago? Obviously slightly different based on the context around me. I would talk a little bit different. I would use the mannerisms of the day. That's another thing. Language is going to change. Like, you know, all the slang, I'm going to be stuck saying sick. Sick is a very 2010s sort of thing. Like, am I going to be saying, oh, that's sick, fam? I mean, I don't really use that kind of, but I kind of started using it ironically. Oh, that's sick, fam. Yeah, cuz. You know, I kind of, you start saying it ironically, and then you start saying it just as you're saying it, and then you get bored of it, and then you move on to the next thing. You know, am I going to be still saying those sort of words in the year 2070? Because back then they'll have new words that'll make skibbity look like, ooh, good gracious, I can't think of any slang from the 1950s right now. Rubber Johnny, Rubber Johnny, rubber ducks. I don't know what I'm fucking saying at this point. Look, I think the video's over. I think there's nothing else to really add. Just try and stick to the bits of information that are kind of important with regards to new technology that are coming in. At some point there'll be a new revolutionary kind of thing like a smartphone. Eventually you'll have to adopt it, and then there'll be a new thing and a new thing, and like, just accept it, because if you don't and you try and Luddite yourself, then you're just going to end up miserable, and you're going to end up behind the times, and then you'll be out of touch with the rest of your community, and it'll make it harder for you to make new connections with others. So yeah, that's going to be everything from me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of the day. I know it was a little bit rambly. I feel like I made the same kind of few points a few times, but you know, it's a quite an abstract topic, the future, because it doesn't exist technically. Like, 1 second from now is always the future, right? It's the same way that 20,000 years from now is always the future. The only difference is that 1 second updates. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Have a good rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Oh. So yeah, isn't it crazy that we've got phones like this? Look at that. Mad, isn't it? Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about politics. Not that this is going to be a political video, this is going to be, if anything, an apolitical political video. I want to talk a little bit about how we can try and shut out the noise that comes from the internet. Anytime I go on my YouTube, right, it's just endless, oh, politics, BBC News, Fox News, CNN, or political YouTube channels, you know, those reactionary type things. Not like reactionary as in the right-wing thing, I just mean literally like reacting to the new political events of the day. And you just get loads of them, and they're all so long, and they're all so in depth. And the thing with politics is that you could spend your entire life dedicated to politics, as many people have, to try and figure out just one particular issue. And you could spend your whole life researching it and analysing it and studying it, and you'll never get to the bottom of it, because there is so much going on. There is so much of a deep well of you know, angles that you can approach political situations from, that it just becomes so intimidating to actually get into that general space. And it's very easy to get involved in politics now, because I mean, we all kind of do it. You end up clicking on a couple, you know, real life law videos and thinking that you're a geopolitical bloody guru, because you sort of think about how Turkey and Greece have you know, the little border disputes over the islands that are kind of around there, and like how Greece has loads of islands that are like right up to the Turkish border, which means that Turkey doesn't have as free access to their own coastline as they perhaps ought to, or whatever. I'm not taking sides with that, by the way. That's another issue of politics. It feels hard to actually discuss politics without inherently taking one side or the other on any particular issue. And it's really difficult as well, because with politics, it's such a touchy subject that you're never going to please everybody. And I find that when I'm out with friends and stuff, and when it gets onto the political thing, my mind goes either one of two ways, and it depends on how political I'm actually feeling. I'm either up for a bit of political discussion or I'm not, and my mind just kind of goes like that. And like, you know, you start hearing like Donald Trump this, Keir Starmer this, Xi Jinping this, bloody all of this sort of stuff. And your mind just kind of goes a little bit, oh God, because it's not that you don't have thoughts and feelings about all these issues, but what is airing those issues going to do? It's not like we're actually going to change anything from having our little discussion on the latest little issue. You know, and how important is it to stay politically aware? I mean, it is, obviously. It's good to stay aware of what's going on in the world, to be conscious of the fact that, you know, we live in a place where we might not have to deal with civil wars or, you know, genocides going on in our back garden, stuff like that, which can feel quite nice. And that's a very low bar for what should count as nice. There's not a genocide going on around here, so we're doing all right. But, you know, like, it's just quite difficult to actually air your general opinion on the political landscape as a whole, because it kind of insinuates that you might feel one way or the other. And I feel like just from watching this video, you might be able to get a sense that I feel one way or the other. And I don't want it to be a video about that. I want it to be a video where it's just discussing the fact that, are we not all a little bit sick of this endless fucking conversation that seems to be going on indefinitely? And, you know, I mean, it feels a bit like it started in 2016 with the first, with Brexit and Donald Trump's first election. And then it just kind of carried on, and then COVID just like turned it into hyper drive, you know, and it keeps going, and there's always a new issue, there's always a new thing, there's always a new school shooting in America, there's always a new riot, there's always a new war that's beginning, there's always something going on that we can't get away from, that we need to have some, like, not necessarily need to have some kind of opinion on, but, you know, I think it's good to stay informed of what's going on and to try and look into the issue and see what's going on, what people are saying, who do you agree with, that kind of thing, because I don't know. As time sort of continues, I find myself ebbing and flowing across the political sort of landscape. Generally I'm on the left side, but I just find myself a little bit sort of frustrated with the fact that it's just so hard to escape politics now. The political discussions sometimes feel a bit inevitable with people. And it's not that I don't like political discussions, I do. And with people that I truly, like, I trust, I really like having those discussions where I feel like I can comfortably air any opinion that I might have. And it's not like I have any like really bad, awful, nasty opinions. I mean, I've done videos, I think, where it should be quite clear that, you know, I'm fairly all right in terms of politics. I'm not like some kind of mad alt-right bloody guy. I'm not some like deep down closet racist or anything like that. But, you know, I mean, I don't really want this, for instance, to be a political channel. I don't want to discuss politics. I don't want it to be about that in particular. But also, sometimes there is an issue that's just kind of like, you know, it feels almost wrong to stay silent on it because you've got a bit of a platform. So why not try and use that platform? I mean, what, do I just try and start fundraisers for every new issue that's going on? Can we be conscious of every issue going on at the same time? Like, for instance, with the Palestine protests at the moment, a lot of people find an annoyance in the Palestine protesters because, you know, there's the M13 thing going on in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There's Boko Haram in Nigeria. There's the Xinjiang, the Uyghur people in China. You know, there's the Mexico border, there's some problems going on there. Apparently there's some problems going on in Argentina, there's problems going on everywhere, you know? And, you know, so people get annoyed that people are focusing just on this one issue, like they're, you know, doing it as a, quote, virtue signaling to try and show that they're such good people. But at the same time, is it possible to be clear and conscious and condemning of every single issue that's going on? And to evenly spread all that? Or is it better to concentrate all of that energy into one issue and sort one issue out, get that sorted, and then do the next one? And obviously we're not sorting any issues out, it feels like. We're not sorting things out, and that's kind of the problem. And how much does talking about it really help? How much does starting a little fundraiser for some charity really help? How much do these things aid the people that are actually struggling? And what does me coming on talking about how I can't be bothered to talk about politics, what does that do? What does that help for anything? The best that can happen is someone else can relate to this and kind of go, yeah, I agree with that. But what's that going to do? Is it going to do anything? If I get someone to be more comfortable in their own skin and not worry so much about the larger cultural zeitgeist, is that an improvement to the world? It's an improvement to that one person. Say you managed to do that with all 8 billion people, then what? If no one cared about politics, you would obviously need some people to care about politics because stuff still needs to happen. Tax laws need to get passed, roads need to get built, democracy needs to continue, you know, trade needs to happen, global infrastructure needs to be upheld. So we obviously need to get all that sort of stuff done. But I think with the internet and, you know, the algorithm kind of pushing out like, you know, targeted propaganda to certain people. Like if you ever go to your grandparents' house and you go on their computer and you see their YouTube recommendeds compared to yours, and you just think, bloody hell, they live in a different world where there's different issues that are going on. Like that, on my side, they don't talk about this sort of stuff, but on their side, they don't talk about the stuff that we talk about. So we're all kind of talking past each other about different issues, and someone will go, yeah, what about this issue? And then someone will respond with, well, yeah, but what about this more important issue? And then someone will go, yeah, but what about this even more important issue? And yes, so every issue has some level of importance, even from local to national to international. And I'd like to sort them all, please, really. I'd like to end the war in Palestine. I'd like to end the war in Ukraine, in Ukraine's favour. I'd like to end all the terrible problems that are going on, like the Uyghur thing. I'd like to sort all these issues out. And there's another problem, is with the wording. You've got to be so careful with the wordings. As I was saying that, I felt like, oh, maybe the fact I didn't call the Uyghur thing a genocide, or maybe the fact that I said the end of the war in Ukraine, that implies that I'm like one of those pro-Russian sort of guys, which I'm not. That just want to end, that use peace as a bit of like a dog whistle just for letting the Russians win. And it's like, oh, I don't know how to sort that out. I don't know how to, like, I really do kind of not look up to or idolize or like really even respect, but like the political commentators, how they're able to do this day in and day out and like so on, and talk about these things in really specific detail and so confidently as well. I don't know how they do it, because everything to do with this is a very touchy subject, and maybe part of how they've done it is they've managed to build a safe space for themselves, and I don't just mean on the left, I mean on the right as well, where people get an audience of people that generally agree with them on most issues. And so, there's the right-wing space of issues that matter, and the right-wing space of opinions, and then there's the left-wing space of opinions and the left-wing space of issues. And they have overlaps for sure, and you can find common ground on those sort of things. Because you ever talk to, someone that's on the opposite side politically from you, and you realise that they're actually a lot closer to you than you actually might think at first. They actually are a lot more on board with the sort of things that you want to do. They maybe just disagree with how you want to get there. They might disagree on certain issues, but they might agree on others. And I think with the internet and with the algorithm and with this continuing division and this endless culture war that's being propagated by the overall media and the governments and so on and so forth for the sake of getting re-elected and that kind of thing, that what it's leading to is a world where you can't agree with people. And I try to put that stuff aside and end up agreeing with people, but I still fall victim to it. Like when I go to talk to people and we get talking about politics and it's someone I maybe disagree with, and then I find myself like having to play the liberal in a conversation, and I don't like doing that. And then I aired this grievance to someone. They said, well, don't play the liberal. I'm like, but I think I am a liberal, so I kind of end up playing the liberal by default. It's hard for me to play a conservative because I'm not one. But I imagine a conservative probably has the same sort of thing. If they're having an argument with a liberal, they're like, oh, I'm having to play the liberal, I'm falling into the same set of opinions. And I don't know, maybe like, you ever notice if you talk to someone who's say more left-wing than you, that you feel a little bit more right-wing in the way you talk, and if you talk to someone that's more right-wing, you feel a little bit more left-wing in the way you talk. So you're not the same political like place on the spectrum at all times. It depends on who you're talking to, and that's maybe a good thing, because it shows that you are flexible with your worldview, and you're able to take on new things and take on new information and apply it to your own life. And I feel like all you can really do politically is try and make your own local area as nice as possible. Engage in local politics, because with local politics you do have some level of not control or ability to make change, but you can do something more than on some industrial scale international incident that you're just a speck among a million specks in a picture for a protest there'll be a headline going, look at these stupid protesters, and you'll just be another face on that, with a load of people in the Daily Mail comment sections going, oh, look at those bloody idiots complaining about an issue. Meanwhile, they'll go out and do a protest where they'll complain about an issue, and then the Novara media comment section will be like, oh, look at those bloody people complaining about an issue. Oh, look at them bloody idiots. So there's no winning, man. And I feel like even doing this video, it's just me playing a sneering centrist, and I don't want to do that either. I don't want to put myself into a singular political position. I want to remain open to new ideas and new modes of thought, while at the same time not tolerating intolerance. and not allowing general democracy to falter and fail, and not allowing totalitarianism and authoritarianism to take hold, and populism to take hold, and all that sort of nasty stuff. So what do we do about this? How do we sort these issues out? I don't have the answer to that, and I'm not, even if I did have the answer, what good would me telling you the answer do? Because you probably just disagree that it's the right thing to do. You probably just think that we should do this other thing. And if we just did that, then it would all be sorted. Like Georgists, for instance, the political ideology of Georgism, basically advocates for introducing a singular tax on land value. And that would apparently help pay for a lot of the social welfare and, general infrastructure that we kind of need. So people tend to advocate for that sort of thing. Then you've got socialists, they advocate for socialism, and you've got, free market capitalists, they advocate for what they advocate for, and we all have various ways of trying to sort the world out. Because I think generally we all want good things to happen. We all want the world to get along, and I think, even though it's a bit of a joke, oh yeah, we're all going to come together and sing Kumbaya, like, I think we would all agree it would be nice if we did that, right? Like, sure, it's not going to happen, but wouldn't it be nice if it did? Wouldn't it be nice if we all just kind of got along and, put aside all of our differences? But obviously it's never going to happen, because there's so many answers to why that's never going to happen that I couldn't even begin to get into it. And I think the reason I'm making this video is just to try and encourage you to shut off from the constant culture war that kind of gets shoved down your throat. Get off Twitter, get off Facebook, get off TikTok, get off YouTube. Click not recommended on any political bullshit that comes your way. Hit don't recommend channel on bloody Fox News or CNN or BBC News or Vouch or I don't know, the Daily Wire or whoever, right? Just don't engage with it. Shut it out, because you'll be so much happier in the long run if you don't think about politics. When the UK election came up, I said, right, I'm going to be political until the election happens, and then once the election's over, I'm done. And since the election, I've barely thought about politics. At the moment, I know there's apparently something going on with farmers' inheritance. Apparently they raise the inheritance on farmers, but apparently it's like to do with corporate farms, but apparently it might also affect normal farmers. So there's a bit of a debate about that. And I'm sure I could go looking into it, and it could turn out to be some kind of, I don't know, media spin to try and, make the Labour Party look bad for certain reasons, or maybe it's to try and do certain things or whatever. Maybe there's so many different facets to this issue that you can make an hour-long video, not even getting into the nitty-gritty of it. And what good would that video do for anyone, Because is Keir Starmer going to watch that and reverse the policy? I don't know, probably not. Look at the protest for the Iraq thing in 2003, when Tony Blair wanted to join George W. Bush in invading Iraq. 1.3 million people turned out for that protest, and we still went. So what could we possibly do? It doesn't seem like any number of people would be good enough. For the past year, people have been turning out in droves to protest the Palestine thing. Nothing's happened with that. All they want to do is stop us from sending arms to Israel to the tune of £500 million, which that could be £500 million that could be in the British domestic sphere of investment. It could be investing in our national infrastructure, or it could 500 million was the cost of Bond Street Station when they built the Elizabeth line. So we could get another one of those, if we stop doing that. That's per year, so we could get Bond Street every year. But we're protesting these things day in and day out. I think they do it every week, but nothing's happened. And if anything, all that happens is you end up getting demonized for it. Look at Just Stop Oil. They're going out and doing all their sort of stunts and stuff, and all they're ending up doing is making people dislike the cause that they're actually trying to protest for. And then there's the whole thing of but if we just try to do little protests, the acceptable protests, then they wouldn't report on them, which is true. They don't report on stuff like when they, for instance, when, I don't think it was Just Stop Oil, but it was something like Just Stop Oil. They actually went into Parliament and they did a protest in Parliament, which I think is where you should do it. And it got no media coverage. But then they go and paint bloody Stop Oil in red on front of HSBC, and they get coverage all over the shop where people go, oh, do you think Just Stop Oil have gone too far? And it's not that I'm supporting Just Stop Oil. I don't like the way that they operate, but I do support the cause of, trying to end, general reliance on fossil fuels and, moving towards renewables, because we're going to run out of gas and petrol and oil and coal at some point. It's not a renewable resource, so why don't we start investing in renewable stuff so that we can think about the long-term future? But, you know, what are we going to do? How are we going to sort these issues out? Me sitting here chatting shit about them isn't going to do anything. You sitting there commenting about it or getting incensed by whatever political video you clipped before this isn't going to do anything about it. So why keep this charade up? Why keep doing this? Why keep getting angry over things that you can't sort out? And that at the end of the day might not even affect your life necessarily. Like, I've seen people get annoyed about the immigration situation in America and they're not American. Why are you getting annoyed about that? It's not like, let the Americans get annoyed about that. If you want to get annoyed about immigration, there's immigration going on here you can get annoyed about if you really want. You know, like, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Well, I do understand, and I've tried to actively shut myself away from it, and I would encourage you to do the same. Tune this stuff out, because all it's designed to do is make you upset. Because hate spreads faster than love. It really, really does. That's why these things do so well, and that's why positive good news like kitten gets saved from tree or £8 billion got donated to a hospital. That's why those things don't get media coverage necessarily. Not to nearly the same extent as, oh, this bombing just happened and 20 people died. That's going to go all over the shop. And the idea is you need to stay informed so you can keep yourself safe, because the idea would probably be what, in case there's a terrorist attack near you, that maybe like your family could have possibly been involved in that terrorist attack. So that's why they do tell you about it. But are you going to be able to keep up with every single terrorist attack that happens across the world? If you've got family in France and you've got family in, I don't know, Syria, you've got family in China, you've got family wherever there's terrorist attacks going on. You know, I feel like if there was a family member of yours that was in those sort of areas, you would like start looking it up yourself anyway, just to make sure that people are safe. I don't know. I feel like that's the main reason that technically news exists. That's probably the reason that we're told that to follow the news, and that's the reason to stay informed. But how does that help for every single political issue? You know, I mean, those sort of things you're going to find out about anyway, because you can't escape those sort of things. You'll get told about it. You'll see it on the news when you go past Carphone Warehouse. You'll see it in a newspaper when you get on the train and you pick up the little Metro newspaper or whatever your town's equivalent is. You'll find out eventually anyway, if you really need to know. So don't worry so much about it. Yeah, I feel like that's going to be it. It's a very difficult video this to actually make, because I feel like this is a very controversial subject, and I feel like what I'm saying is like almost counteractive to the general attitude towards politics at the moment, which is you need to stay informed, you need to keep up with what's going on, and you know, you need to be another player in this culture war where you can argue for your case and your ideal world, because you want that world to happen. And you know, we all want the best world to happen. The difference is we all see that as a different thing. And I'm at that point where I would rather just try and make my own local community better. So that's why I'm saying engage in local politics, because you have the power to do stuff with that. Your vote actually means something in amongst 20,000 people compared to 20 million people. Sure, it might not be massive, but it's at least visible. So yeah, try and make your own location better. Try and form your own community with people that you love and cherish and people that you care about. Try and find people that are like-minded, and try and just keep yourself happy, and try and tune this stuff out, because it's not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you absolutely fucking miserable. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care, everybody. Leave your comments below on what you think about trying to tune out of politics. I presume at some point you've tried to tune out of politics before, and then you're going to get back into politics. I know I'm going to get back into politics at some point. But yeah, let me know what you think, particularly if you're American, because I know Trump's just got in. So I imagine you probably are thinking, oh God, 4 years of hearing about bloody Trump. I'm going to just tune out of politics. So if you have thoughts about this in any capacity, or if you have some critiques of what I'm saying, please do respond and please leave them. Let's try and get a discussion, a good faith, well-rounded and civil discussion going on about this, and try and avoid the political, you know, argument sort of thing where it's like the right-wing people versus the left-wing people, because this isn't a political partisan issue. This isn't us talking about, you know, Palestine, or this is us talking about Ukraine, or us talking about immigration, or this talking about trans rights or whatever. This is just us trying to cover the idea of engaging with politics and your own mental health. So yeah, take care everybody, have a good rest of the day, take the news app off your phone, even ground news, which can be all right. But I even worry that that's some kind of like, you know, weird sort of partisan thing, which is just disguising itself as bipartisan. You got to be on the lookout in that kind of regard. Just stay conscious, but don't let it dominate your own thought process in your mind. That's what I'll say. Stay conscious, but don't let it control you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hey up, everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the future of humanity and whether it's going to be a good or a bad thing. Because there's a lot of threats to humanity. You know, there's that global doomsday clock, and apparently around now it's about 40 seconds to midnight, and it's all determined by scientists and all the various technologies that go on, and they kind of use their judgment to sort of figure out what's a threat, what isn't, and like how big this threat is compared to this. For the past sort of 80 years or so, since the invention of the atomic bomb, we've been slowly like living on thin ice. We've been living on very, very thin ice. I mean, there's been so many incidents where, you know, America's accidentally dropped a nuclear bomb on their own country like 4 or 5 times just because it fell out of a plane, and they haven't found some of these nuclear bombs either. One of them fell quite close to, I think it was Miami or something like that. Like, and if it had gone off, it would have like wiped out one of their own cities. So that would have just been pure accident. Then there's the whole thing in Russia. The name of the guy, Stanislav Petrov, that's it. He basically went against the orders that were given to him from upper command to launch the nukes, because they had a system error which found various satellites or debris or something, and interpreted that as a nuclear strike from the Americans, and they needed to strike back. And you know, if you're working for the Soviet Navy, you do not tell your supervisors and your superiors, no, I will not follow this order. And he didn't follow the order, and it turned out that he was very right to do so. And now he is the reason that I'm making this video. He's the reason that you're watching this video. He's the reason that all of us are even still alive. And you know, I'm quite eternally thankful to him for being there to stop this, because if it had been someone else that might have just followed that order and just launched those nukes, you know, I don't know what we would be living in now, whether it would be an apocalypse or whatever. I mean, because the idea of a nuclear apocalypse is quite, you know, scary. You know, the idea that all of this would just disappear, and it, like, all the leaves would no longer sprout from the trees, all the trees would die. Nuclear winter would engulf a large cloud over the entirety of the globe for 20 years or so, and the radiation, sure, it wouldn't, maybe the radiation wouldn't last for centuries or millennia, but it would at least last for like lifetimes. And you know, maybe we would survive a nuclear holocaust. It's not about whether we would go completely extinct or all life on Earth would completely be wiped out, but it would be an extinction level event, in, you know, the same way that the dinosaurs got blasted by that comet, or the comet that came before that started off the dinosaurs, or all the various extinction level events, the mass extinction events that have happened throughout Earth's history. This would just be another one, but it would be unique in the fact that it would be one species on this planet has actively caused this. It was caused from an internal thing from this planet, rather than just happenstance where, you know, the planet was in the wrong place at the wrong time and the comet just happened to get lucky, you know? So the future in terms of nuclear Armageddon, you know, I feel like there's 2 ideologies around it. I can't remember the names of them, but one of them is essentially that the fact that we have nuclear weapons has allowed for peace to prosper. And certainly we do live in more peaceful times than we have at various points in human history. You know, notwithstanding the invasion of Ukraine and Palestine, and like the M13 rebellions in the Congo, and like, you know, all the general things that are going on. Like, I'm not saying we live in a perfect world or anything, but we are living in quite a peaceful time comparatively, where wars are nowhere near as destructive as they once were. I mean, after World War II, we had so many systems in place to try and prevent that kind of thing again. We got the Geneva Convention out of it, and we got, you know, all the UN out of it, and we got all these kind of global stopgaps, essentially, safety precautions, essentially, to try and make sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes that were made in World War II, because we can't afford to make those mistakes again. During the Korean War, I can't remember the name of the general. Is it Patton? I think it might be Patton, I can't remember. But he basically wanted to use nuclear weapons in a tactical way to win the Korean War. And, you know, at that point, we didn't really fully appreciate the deadly power that came from nuclear weapons. Obviously, we had an idea because, you know, Hiroshima and Nagasaki had happened, and the US and the Soviet Union by that point were both engaging in very frequent nuclear tests. But, you know, say if we had done that, and say we had normalized nuclear strikes in a tactical sense, which I've heard like odd little things about the idea of the Russians and the Ukrainians doing that in the Ukraine war. And then there's this quite dangerous idea that I've heard that, oh, all of Russia's nukes, they're all so old that they probably don't even work. And it's like, listen, I know that Russia turned out to not be quite as strong as it was, as people thought it was, considering that they've had such a hard time invading Ukraine, but that's not to say that they are like completely without power, that they have no nukes. I mean, they have the most nukes in the world, and even if 99% of them are non-functional, that still leaves us with 1% of like 7,000 nukes, which is 70 nukes, which is a lot. That's enough to wipe out basically every major city in Europe. It's enough to cause nuclear winter, because if those missiles were to launch, then you know for a fact that the US and the UK and France would launch their missiles straight back, and that would cause nuclear Armageddon because of the mutually assured destruction thing. And that's why I almost feel a little bit weird about nuclear weapons, because, like, yeah, sure, we want to take them out with us. We don't want to go down without a fight, but we're at that point now where that kind of strike would just wipe out an entire civilization, and there's nothing left to conquer if you were to wipe that civilization out, and there's nothing to do, nothing to gain. And I just feel like it's certainly really interesting, because on the one hand, people like to argue that nuclear weapons are one of the main causes for the current peace and prosperity that we actually have, you know, comparatively compared to wars of the past, because World War I and World War II were taking us down a very dangerous path as far as warfare goes. And if we hadn't invented nuclear weapons, say if we lived in a pre-nuclear world, then, you know, World War III would certainly have happened, and it wouldn't be a nuclear Armageddon. It would just be another world war and we've seen the amount of damage the first two world wars caused, millions of deaths and, you know, genocides and all that kind of fun stuff. And that would have just carried on at the scale it was. I mean, nuclear weapons are the reason that, you know, people are scared to invade certain places. You know, you won't invade a country that's got nukes because they'll just obliterate you. And, like, you know, no one would consider invading NATO, for instance, because, like, then all the NATO would come around and just, like, wipe the fuck out of you. Like, you know, there's so much that you could argue in favor of nuclear weapons as a peacekeeping tool, despite their immense potential for chaos, destruction, death, and suffering. But because they're so new, I mean, nuclear weapons are more recent than my grandparents, you know, and I'm not, like, old particularly. And, you know, if you're watching this and you're maybe 50, then your parents have a decent chance of being older than the first atomic bomb. And that's how new these weapons of mass destruction are. And that basically means that we don't think long term. We talk about how this might bring peace and prosperity, and, like, how, like, the last 80 years have been comparatively peaceful, but the 1800s was relatively peaceful compared to the 1700s, where you had, you know, 7 Years' War, you had the Napoleonic Wars, you had so much stuff, and then that all kind of fizzled out around the 1820s. I'm not saying war stopped or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. Like, and colonialism was a massive cause of death and destruction again. So it kind of just changed in style, essentially. But there was that gap from, I want to say, like, maybe the War of 1812 or the Napoleonic Wars, the last major wars of Europe to World War I. There was that time, and that amount of time is actually longer than the time since the first atomic bomb, which we would consider this new time of peace and prosperity, the most peaceful time in history, as people like to say. And that means that we don't think long term, because that's not even 100 years of time that we have had these weapons, and that's so little time that we've learnt to understand human nature, when human nature and humanity has this power and this ability to just at a whim destroy everything, you know? And that is terrifying. I mean, North Korea now has multiple nuclear weapons. Israel is rumored to have nuclear weapons, and I can't remember if Pakistan, I think, has nuclear weapons. India, I think, has nuclear weapons. China definitely has nuclear weapons. France has them. Iraq doesn't have them. But you know, there's countries on both, let's call it both sides of the general geopolitical fight for society, essentially, the East and the West, to really boil it down to a basic like primary school level. You know, you've got the people on the West, like America and NATO and all that bullshit, and then you've got the people on the East, which is like as China and like, you know, the Arab world and places like that. And then you've got the second world, I guess, or sorry, the third world, which is like, you know, all the countries that were neutral. And that sort of terminology in itself is kind of outdated, and it kind of implies that these developing countries basically just are irrelevant to the global discourse regarding our future as a civilization, as a human civilization. You know, do we want globalism, or do we want nationalism, or do we want, you know, something in between? Is, you know, global institutions to try and enforce peace and prosperity, are they good, or are they tools for evil? And those are questions that I don't have the answers to. And you know, there was times when I thought I had the answers, but like, I'm just some twat, you know, that like goes around parks and stuff. I don't know. So, and I feel like everyone now sort of, with the access to the internet and stuff, it's very easy to feel like you know a lot more than you do, and to treat that knowledge as if it's got any kind of prowess, when you don't even know if what you're reading is or viewing is actually true, or if it's propagandized, or maybe it is true but it is also propagandized, or if it's just completely made up, or maybe the facts are completely true but they're being presented to you in a way that's designed to manipulate you and your actions, and to make you think in a certain way. Like, it's very easy to get various stats to make someone think, oh, these people are bad because look at these stats, when you know, you could also show some completely different statistics that are both, you know, both of these sets of statistics are true. They're not doctored in any way, but it's the way that you present this information that kind of shows, that, you know, helps manipulate people into thinking about others in certain ways, or thinking about ideas in certain ways. And I feel like with the future, now we don't even have to just worry about nuclear weapons. We have to worry about, one, the internet and, you know, AI on the horizon. And scientists with that global doomsday clock I mentioned earlier, now they agree that that is actually more of a threat than nuclear weapons are in the long term. And like, you know, when nuclear weapons first came out and they destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like, those nuclear weapons are like sticks of dynamite compared to the bombs that we have now. Like, we have bombs that are thousands of times more powerful than those ones were, which could cause almost infinite destruction. Yeah, so like Tsar Bomba, for instance, was it 56 megatons? And it was actually reduced down from 100 megatons only because its original yield would have, with certainty, killed the pilot of the plane that dropped it, even with all the, you know, time delay measures. Like, they put a parachute on the bomb to make sure it got to its destination much slower, and none of that stuff would have been enough. And even with the yield of 56 megatons, there was still like a 50-50 chance that it would have killed that pilot. Luckily it didn't. So you know, now we have AI, which is already beginning, and I think now we are at the point where, like, say there was an Oppenheimer equivalent for AI, he would have made his "now I have become death" speech by now. you know, and people, like, even the discourse around the idea of AI being a danger to humanity is almost kind of kitsch and old hat and just kind of boring and redundant. It's not like the fun thing to do anymore. You know, because at the moment, like, AI is fun stuff like ChatGPT or DALL-E or whatever, these little things that just, you know, make bits of content. And the debate at the moment is around whether this stuff is theft or, you know, it's stealing from the original creators of the work that these AIs were trained on. These AIs were trained on, you know, the entire internet and various parts of the internet. Say an AI was trained on this film, the director of the film, maybe has some legal credence to say, well, they don't have legal credence at the moment, but they have maybe some moral credence to say that, you know, you making something with an AI that's basically based off of what I made is stealing my creation and just repurposing it in new packaging. And I don't disagree with that, but I feel like it's not the most important or most interesting conversation, because we are so far at the beginning of AI, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We have no idea. Anything could be on the horizon, whether super intelligence, conscious AI is possible, or maybe it becomes something else. Maybe AIs, like, I mean, AIs are already, like, and bots and stuff are already very prevalent on the internet. And, you know, you see news articles and stuff that are written by AI, and that's been going on for over a decade before ChatGPT and stuff like that. And now it's only become a consumer thing where consumers can actually use it to their advantage. And that's why you've got so many, you know, scammy kind of, oh, use ChatGPT to help your business and grow and all that sort of bullshit. And it's like, shut the fuck up. But, you know, AI, for instance, the thing that really scares me that I remember reading was the idea that you could code a disease on an AI. And I don't know how exactly that works, because I can barely turn on a computer, let alone code a fucking AI to make a disease. But basically, you could craft a disease that is specifically designed to cause as much destruction. Say, maybe you could make a disease that only targets specific races, or you could make a disease that only targets people that maybe have, like, a certain bank balance or something like that. So if you wanted to kill all the poor, you could just do that with this disease. And, like, I don't know how exact that would be or how that would be achieved. And I really hope that I never learn how that is potentially possible. But it's all stuff that we need to figure out. We need to answer these questions that we've left unanswered even from the nuclear age. We never bothered to solve the question of whether mutually assured destruction can cause the countries that are taking part in the nuclear arms race to be so scared of their own weapons that they would never consider using them, because it's only been under 100 years since nuclear weapons were first invented, and we have no idea whether they can function in various stages of the human and societal experience, shall we say, where, you know, we've gone through a couple ups, you know, dips and valleys of, you know, the economy and stuff like that. You know, we had the post-war golden age, and then we had the 70s, which was a bit down, then we had the 80s and 90s and 2000 where it was a bit up, and now it's going down again. And we've had a little bit of that, but we've not had enough time to really see a development in civilization. I mean, society in the 1940s, sure, while it's not exactly the same as it is now, is much more akin to what we have now than, say, the 1940s compared to the 1740s. And, you know, going into the future, society is only going to evolve and progress at a much faster rate. And what that means is that we're going to have to figure out how to juggle these deathly Armageddon-inducing inventions with the speed at which we are evolving technologically. And we're going to have to answer those questions, because if we don't, then we'll learn the answers the hard way, which will involve a significant amount of us dying or living in endless suffering under, say, some kind of robotic apocalypse where the AI robots are the masters and we're their slaves or something like that. I don't know, and I don't pretend to know, but all I can do is try and raise these questions and hope that there's people out there on the internet that know more than me that can maybe use some of this video to raise discussions about the future of humanity, because I feel like humans don't think long term. You know, I saw an article that said government plans to get rid of gas-powered heaters by 2035, and to me 2035 feels like a really long way away, and it's not. You know, it's only like 10 years ago, it was 2015, when like Leafy is here and iDubbbz and stuff were knocking about, and 2035 isn't that far away either. 2050 is not really that far away. I mean, 25 years ago, I'm 25 years old, so all you do is double that, and I'm not particularly old. So all you do is double my age, and as someone who's not particularly old, and then bam, you're at 2050. 2100 isn't really that far away, all things considered. Someone that's born today will be 75, so it's only one, you know, lifetime away. Not even one lifetime away, slightly less than one lifetime away. And how are we going to use these tools for good in the long run? Because they're going to come no matter what. We can't stop technological progression, because people have tried that in the past and it doesn't work. So we need to figure out how we are going to use this stuff responsibly, or we are all going to die. So yeah, that's going to be the video. I'm going to end it on a nice positive note there. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave your comments in the description, in the comments thing below, about what you think about the future of humanity. Do you think we're too short-sighted? Do you think that AI or nuclear weapons or maybe something else is the real threat? Do you feel like man's inhumanity to man could be solved by technology? Do you feel like we're generally going in a good direction, even if we have some setbacks? Or do you feel like we are heading towards certain doom? I haven't even mentioned climate change in this video. That's another one. So yeah, Godspeed to the future. And if you're watching this from the future, let me know how the future went. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Also, I decided to film here because it does look like an apocalypse around here. Like, you know, apart from that, there's some leaves on that tree. They'll be gone. The water would be a bit like murkier. It's already a bit murky. And those plastic bags would be gone. They'd be blown away by the nuclear blast. It's a tip. There's a fucking license plate that's sat there. YE19RZT. So anyone's car who's crashed into that, leave your comments below trying to claim it back. Yeah, the DVLA will be inspecting this comment section regularly to make sure that you get your car back, because that's clearly an issue. Right, bye-bye. Hey up, everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about alcohol and how it's kind of a bad thing in general. I mean, you already know that, obviously. But I don't know, it's quite a hard video to make this, because it involves me being quite upfront and personal, and I've got like friends and family and stuff that watch these videos now, so, and it's something that like we don't really talk about, you know, in general as a society. I mean, we pretend like we talk about it, and we pretend like we care, but I don't think we actually do. And what I wanted to talk about is drinking. Specifically, I wanted to talk a little bit about home drinking, solo drinking, just drinking on your own, and not drinking for any particular purpose, not drinking for you know, the sake of living a fulfilling life, but just drinking just to feel. So I first started drinking in 2016. I was 17, which by most standards is actually fairly late. You know, a lot of these sort of stories that you hear from people started at like 12, 13, 14. I didn't, and when I first drank, it was at a wedding up in Scotland, and it was honestly one of the best times of my life, because it was such a huge event and everything was so larger than life. It was quite a big scale wedding, you know, they booked out a huge place and we had like a big garden party and stuff, and it was really, really nice. And it was my first time properly getting drunk, and the Scots know how to fucking drink, let me tell you that. They really know how to drink. I must have had, honestly, something like the equivalent of about 13 pints, and it was like my second or third time ever getting drunk, right? And, you know, I got back from Scotland, and, you know, I was kind of all right for a bit, And because I was in college at the time, and I started to drink more, you know, with friends, and we'd go to people's houses, or we'd go to the pub, and we would get drunk. And when you're that age, you're sort of 17, trying to, like, you know, get your older looking friend to go in a place because he doesn't get ID'd. You know, you go in just trying to get drunk with other people, and that's the aim of the night, is to get as wasted as possible. So, you know, we used to do stuff like who can down a beer the fastest, right? And we would do all sorts of stuff like that, and it was also normal. And, you know, I occasionally would get a drink for myself, you know, just to have at home as a nice little evening treat. And that went from being, you know, every once in a while to being fairly regularly, to being every other day, to being every day. And then once it was every day, it was like, you know, 1 or 2 wasn't enough anymore. Then I needed to get 3 or 4. And they sell them in packs of 4. So you buy 4 and you feel like you need to have all 4. So you end up drinking more and more as a kind of a result of the way that the product is kind of marketed to you. And I don't know, when COVID started, I'd probably been drinking for about 3-4 years at that point. And, you know, because you're so isolated from everyone around you, you're sort of not going out as much, you're not seeing friends as much, you just start drinking more on your own. And it became a thing where I was just drinking just to drink, really. You know, I'd get like a 4-pack and I would sit down in front of the computer and I would watch like Peep Show or The Simpsons or just some bullshit, you know, and I feel like I would drink so that I would find what I was watching more funny, or I would like drink so that I could listen to the music more intensely and get more of some kind of visceral reaction from it, because what alcohol does is it makes you feel like more open and like the feelings are all more real, right? And you know, I went from my late teens to my early 20s to my mid 20s, and this wasn't getting any better. In fact, it was just getting worse. And I started working in pubs, and working in a pub is a really terrible environment for people that drink. And I think most people that work in pubs already drink, already smoke, and it was just really bad, because what you end up doing is you end up staying after work and having a pint, and then 3 pints, and then 4 pints. And pints at the pub are expensive, even if you're fucking 20% discount, they're still expensive. So you're going to work and you're spending most of your paycheck on that workplace, and you end up just drinking a ridiculous amount with people that you're not actually that bothered with, but you're with them all the time, so they just becomes like the norm for you, right? And you know, you go to your friends and you know, it's not really fun anymore. It's just the sort of thing that you do just because this is what we do and what we've always done, and we just drink just for the sake of it. And you know, you stop being drunk after a certain amount of time. You stop actually drinking just to, you know, get drunk. You just start drinking just to feel normal. And, you know, once you start drinking every day, you're always drunk, because, you know, alcohol stays in your system for 48 hours, right? So that means that if you're drinking, you know, more than every 48 hours, that you are always drunk in some capacity. Maybe sometimes you're more drunk than others, but you're always still a little bit inebriated, you know, because going to sleep and you know, having a hangover, it's not like when you're hungover, you're actually sober, you're still a little bit drunk, and that's kind of what causes the hangover, is how I kind of look at it. I don't know exactly how true that is. I don't know, I just feel like in 2022, I started to really feel like there was a problem, because it started going from buying 1 4-pack of these, which are £3.09 in the Lidl, right, to buying 2 packs of them per day. So that's £6.18 on the cheapest possible one, you know. And if I went to, you know, to the shop down the road, it'd be double that price or more. So every day between £6 to £15 is going on this, right? Not food, not transport, not all the other necessities that you need to have. And because it's so addictive, you end up putting this before things that are more important, you know. And I would start to not really get like the nice food that I actually like, and I would just start getting crap just because it was cheaper, so that I could buy more of these, which are also really cheap. And it's just kind of, I don't know, you sit and you look at it sometimes whilst you're drinking, and you think to yourself, God, I'm a fucking loser. What the hell am I doing? Is this what I'm going to be like for the rest of my life? You know? And, you know, sometimes I would walk past like crackheads or alcoholic street drinkers and stuff, and I would think, is that my future? Is that what I'm going to become? Is this problem going to get worse and worse and worse? And I feel like the more I'm talking about this, it sounds like, you know, I was some like mega alcoholic, you know, I was fucking going out like getting totally blottoed and fucking like, you know, doing crazy stuff and you know, that could be kind of fun and wacky. No, it wasn't like that at all. It was incredibly boring is what it was, because I would drink basically on my own, in my room, at my desk, watching shit on the fucking computer. Like, you know, just random YouTube videos or random songs or live performances or, you know, like clips of Peep Show or Faulty Towers, and I would just circle through the same fucking things again and again and again, right? And I started to really feel like there was an issue. And every time I would get drunk, I would feel really guilty. I say get drunk, I didn't feel any different really. I just felt normal, like it was an impulse that you have to do. And I started to feel like I need to quit. And I would say that every single day, and I'd wake up every single day like, I'm going to quit today. And it would get to around sort of 5 p.m, 6 p.m, because I had a rule, I wouldn't drink before 5 p.m. And that made me feel like I was a normal functioning member of society, because I didn't wake up and immediately have a fucking, you know, shot of vodka with my mouthwash or whatever, you know, like, or whatever. I wasn't like carrying a flask to work or stuff like that. And that made me feel like I wasn't an alcoholic. I was actually just a normal functioning member of society, because this is what everybody does. Everybody goes out and just gets on the piss, you know? And yeah, I started to wake up every day feeling guilty. And I used to also wake up in the morning and I would not want to go on my phone, because I would be really worried about what dumb shit I'd sent to people. You know, would I have gone onto some like old group chat and like just sent like some long ramble about some bullshit? Would I have like, you know, there was a couple times when I went through old like chats in the morning from the night before, and I would see like, oh God, I've really revealed some like really personal stuff that I shouldn't have revealed. And like, there was a couple times when like, you know, I'm just basically just like sad posting to someone else, and I'm putting them in the position where they need to try and comfort me, and it's not fair on them, you know. And I would feel incredibly guilty over it, and yeah, I would keep drinking and I would keep doing it, and I would keep questioning, why am I doing this, and why do I feel like I'm imprisoned by it? Why do I feel like I can't escape even if I want to, despite the fact that I seem to be so conscious of the fact that this is so bad for me? Why is it that I'm so aware of the prison that I'm in, and the door is right there to leave, and yet I'm not leaving? Why are the chains invisible? And are the chains even really there, or are they just imaginary? And you know, I would dream about being sober. I would really, like, I loved the idea of being sober, but at the same time, you go out to the pub or whatever, and you see like the sober guy, right, who's just drinking fucking water or whatever, you know, and you just feel like maybe they're a bit boring. I remember like, it was a really nasty thing I would do, and not like I did to people, but it was just a thought, like a nasty thought that I would have about people. If someone quit drinking, you know, I'd be like, oh wow, good for you, man. But deep down I would kind of think, oh God, they're boring now. Great, you know, another one gone that I can't drink with, or whatever, you know. And you know, I would never say it to them. I would just sort of think it. And I was really worried that if I quit drinking, that I would become this boring sort of person that doesn't matter, that doesn't, you know, that like I would become like an English teacher or some shit like that, you know, that doesn't have anything of worth to say, that is just this, I don't know, you know how these people like talk about others like they're NPCs? I was worried I would become an NPC in that sort of way, like a non-player character, because I'm the main character after all, because I'm so fucking interesting, because I drink 7 pints a day, you know. And it's not like I would think like differently of like myself if I was to quit. I would just sort of dream of this idea, you know, that like everything would be the same, and yet I wouldn't drink. And I was almost, I don't know, maybe I was scared by the idea, because I thought it was impossible, and that the only way it could be achieved is I did become this, you know, non-entity, if I had to like sell my soul or something like that, like my personality is based around drinking. And that's what I started to realize, and realizing that kind of helped me to begin the journey of getting out of it. And I would sort of sit there. And I remember I used to post on Reddit, like, is it normal to drink fucking 7 pints a night? And you know, sometimes people would say, yeah, that's totally normal, you know, and I feel kind of, you know, validated by it. And, you know, I started to realize that I don't need to fucking book a holiday to like the middle of some random like Vietnam or something and go on a lash and like get prisoned in fucking Vietnam, you know, to be an alcoholic. I don't need to hit rock bottom and end up on the streets to be an alcoholic. I don't need to wake up in the morning and immediately reach for the bottle to be an alcoholic. And alcoholism is really fucking boring. There's not much to it, and you don't have to be drunk and visibly drunk to be an alcoholic. You just kind of plateau, and you just this constant like inebriated state where everything feels sort of whatever. And you know, it feels like I would just drink to feel normal, and that all became really scary. And I was always trying to quit, and sometimes I'd manage like a couple days here, or maybe 3 days there, or a week here, and then I would end up going back to it because I feel like, okay, I've made it 7 days now, I can go back, you know, because I've shown to myself that I can handle it, right? And every single time it would go from like, oh yeah, back to once every other day, back to every day, then back to where I was before, drinking 7-8 pints a day. And that cycle happened for probably about 2 years. And I was always talking to everyone about how I would want to quit beer and drink, and I would never drink again, and all that sort of stuff. And the idea of never drinking again really scared me, because like, forever is a very long time to say something to yourself that you're going to do, that I am never going to drink again, right? And I quit drinking. I don't actually, that's another thing. I was always chasing the dragon in a sense. You know how they say like, oh, it's pointless to chase the dragon. I was always chasing it, and sometimes I would catch the dragon, and I would see it as like, oh, I need to have that final mad night to remember. You know, I need to have that final night that is just mental, brilliant, that gives me the feeling that I had all those years ago when I was young and innocent, you know. And every time that would happen, I would quit for a couple of days, and then like I would pick up a drink down the shop because I would get this temptation. And, you know, I would be aware and conscious of how stupid it was. And yet I would do it every single time. And nothing would change. And I would just do this again and again and again. And like I went up north a couple of times because me and a friend, we go up north quite often. And we get like an Airbnb and we just go film some videos and like go see some sights and stuff. And like I realized I was drinking like all the time, and like I was just doing nothing but just get drunk. And like he even commented like, you are having a lot, and I was just like, no, I'm not. This, like I know people that drink way more than me. And it's not like, alcoholism isn't a fucking competition. Like drinking is not, it's not a game that you play to try and get the high score. It's a way to try and make yourself feel more real, because at the moment you feel fake because you're discontent with the world that you're in. That's why alcohol like consumption rates are so high in like third world countries. That's why, you know, the lower class tend to have more alcohol problems than the upper class. That's why all of these things kind of occur, because you're depressed and so you drink to try and alleviate your depression. But alcohol in itself is a depressant, so it's a total fucking waste of time. It's like, I don't know, it's like drinking coffee to try and solve your insomnia. You know, it doesn't make any sense. But to you in that moment, while you're in that state of needing and being dependent on this thing, you feel like you need it. You feel like you need this to feel normal. And I would look at it and I would pour it in a glass. I wouldn't drink out of a can. I would get a glass and I'd pour it in the glass like I was at the pub, and I would just sit and drink at the desk. And then I wouldn't finish the last bit probably, because I would feel like almost sick, you know, and sometimes I would actually force myself to be sick just to try and make that feeling go away. And I was always waking up fucking like I need to be like vomit, right? And sometimes there'd be like that much left in a can, and it would fucking reek, and I'd smell it and I'd go, oh. And when I finally quit, I don't actually remember the day that I quit, but I remember what I did. I woke up and there was a glass that was quite full actually. I had probably that much in it, right? And it was completely flat, apple juice looking beer at that point. And I took a whiff of it. I went, oh God, and I picked it up to go take it and chuck it down the sink. And then I thought, hang on, nah, I'm gonna leave it there as a reminder of how much it stinks and how much it's fucking wretched. And throughout that day, I got the usual little craving. And when I had that craving, which I got like, you know, every time like my active thought process would stop and you go back to the neutral state, and then I would crave this, right? I would take a whiff of it and it would immediately get rid of that feeling and that craving. And so I kept it there for like 2 weeks. It started to go fucking moldy. And I only threw it out because someone pointed out that it might actually, like, spores might actually release and actually like fuck me up and make me ill. That's the only reason I got rid of it. It might even still be there today, to be honest. And, you know, since that moment, I thought, like, every other time I would try to quit, I would have so many temptations. I'd be at the pub, like, not shaking, because I never got shakes or anything like that. I didn't get yellow-faced or anything like that. I was just like, God, I would love a drink. Like, this night is so fucking boring. I just, you know, look at all these fucking people having fun. You know, look at them having a fucking drink. Look at that person having a drink. Oh, they're having so much fucking fun. You know, I just want to, like, do this, you know, and just have a drink. But Jesus Christ, it fucking reeks, this stuff. I really can't stand the smell of beer. In fact, I want to get rid of that now because it genuinely makes me feel ill. Like, you know, and it's not that I judge other people for drinking in any capacity. Like, it's a personal choice. Some people have their own journey to make if they decide for themselves that they have a problem and that they want to quit. It's up to you to decide if you have a problem, and if you do have a problem, then, you know, try and take the steps to get rid of it. And if you're worried about your drinking, then you're probably an alcoholic, even if you're not, like, drinking as much as someone else who isn't worried about their drinking, because it's the concern that I think makes it, because it debilitates you. And since I quit drinking about 7 months ago, I've not really had many cravings at all. I went on one date where I felt like maybe I should just drink so that way I'm drinking, because if she drinks, I'll have to drink, because, like, what if it, like, gets, like, you know, back to my place or whatever, and I'm sober and she's not, you know? So I thought I'll just drink just so that we're both drunk, sort of thing. But it turned out she didn't drink anyway, so that was quite a fucking lucky thing, because if it weren't for the fact that she didn't drink, maybe I would have relapsed, and maybe I would have just started drinking this shit again. And I think if I was drinking, I wouldn't be able to make these videos. And I think the fact that I was drinking is what makes so much of my old content utterly unwatchable to me, because so many of the ideas I got from it were just because I thought I was so fucking funny. I thought I was so intelligent and so creative because I had these mad ideas when I was drunk, and I thought that made me a better person than everybody else, because I got inebriated and the inebriation gave me inspiration, and I thought that it was a dichotomy of that, right? But since I started drinking these, right, they taste exactly the same. They taste exactly the same. And this stuff, genuinely, that's what I think of it now. Like, it is honestly the most vile, wretched, fucking disgusting shit ever. And, you know, I was a little bit scared to make this video for a few reasons, because one, it's an incredibly vulnerable thing to do, to admit that I had a problem. Two, it's an incredibly vulnerable thing to portray to, say, like, an audience, one that's very large, and as is. I mean, there's like 7,500 subscribers and there's like 2,000 returning viewers. And, you know, then there's my family and friends, and like my nan watches these videos, so now she's gonna know I had a problem. And, you know, I didn't want to make it for that reason. And I also worried that if I made this video that it would make me feel like, oh, I'm okay, I can drink again. And that's why I didn't make this video for quite a long time. But I don't know, I just felt like it was something I had to figure out, because once I quit drinking, I realized that I was having more fun. I realized that I was enjoying life more, and I realized that everything felt so much more beautiful and colourful and ecstatic. And, you know, and the days, I didn't feel like I just wanted the days to end. I didn't feel like I wanted to just dive into my phone and forget about the world. I didn't wake up in the morning feeling shame because of some possible text I might have sent to someone that was embarrassing. and I felt like I could be productive, and I felt like I could get stuff done. And since I quit drinking, I've been so much more productive, and I've managed to get stuff done all over the shop. And that's all very obvious side effects of quitting booze. But what I didn't expect was just how much more holistic and visceral the world became. I felt like I was always sober when I was drinking, but now that I'm sober, I feel like I'm always what I was trying to achieve when I was drinking, if that makes sense. I feel the world in a very satisfying way that some may only be able to get through inebriation. And I go out on nights out. I go to the pub. I go clubbing. Well, I don't like going clubbing, but I do go clubbing. I go to live shows and I go to friends' houses where everyone's drinking, all that sort of stuff. I'm surrounded by alcohol and loads of people drinking and getting drunk, right? And you know what? I get drunk off the vibes. That was something I was a bit worried about when I quit. Like, I quite enjoy the whole stumbling home at 2 a.m, spouting shit and shouting shit with your mates. And I thought that might never happen again. But no, it didn't. In fact, it actually became more common. The crazy nights out actually became more frequent after I quit drinking rather than less. I felt more childlike wonder rather than less. And every night just felt more whole and interesting, and life just felt more real after I quit drinking. That's kind of it, really. And now it's been about 7 months, and I can count the number of times I've even vaguely had a temptation on one hand, and of those, only one of them was any real threat. And that was only because I was going on a date and I didn't want to be the sober one to someone who's drunk, So that was the only reason. And the other times were just your usual call from the void sort of shit. You're walking down the road and you see, you think oh, what if I just throw myself in front of that car? You're not actually going to do it, but and it's almost an intrusive thought. That's the only time that it's ever really come up. And that's only happened a small handful of times. And every time it's happened, I just think, God, wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be stupid? And you know what? Now I sit at the desk and I have maybe 1 or 2 of these. And, I watch the same peep show, faulty towers, YouTubers, fucking bullshit that I did before. Nothing inherently changed in my life. If you're thinking about quitting drinking, the sober life is not different in any real capacity. It's only slightly more, right? It's only slightly more. And you can still do all the same things you did when you were drunk. You still have all the same experiences, and you can still get drunk, right? I still get drunk. When I stumble back at 2 a.m. with my mates, I've had 4 or 5 of these, right? And they've had 4 or 5 real beers, right? We're chatting shit and I feel just as drunk as everyone else. I feel like I'm having a good time, and I feel like I'm not unhappy with the state of the world, and I feel actually content with things for the first time in a very long time. And I don't know what the future will bring, because I've never said that I have quit drinking. I wouldn't say I've quit and I'm never going to drink again, because forever is a long time. I just think of it as I'm not drinking at the moment. I think of it as I'm not drinking right now. Right now I'm just having these, Or, do you know what's also good? You can go to the pub and just order water, and water's free. I went out yesterday, and I got the bus, and sometimes the Oyster card thing, the light is usually green. This time it was red, and the guy just waved me on. I went to the pub, got free waters, got the bus back. The whole night out cost £1.70. Or whatever a bus costs, something like that. And you know what? If I was drinking that night, probably would have cost about 30 quid. I think there's a couple things that frustrate me, and they're not to do with the actual quitting of the drinking. It's to do with the way that these are put around. So first off, you don't really get as much choice. When I was drinking, I would never have drunk Heineken, but now it's my main drink, right? What also frustrates me is that they put the non-alcoholic stuff in amidst with all the alcoholic stuff. So you have to go down the alcohol aisle and like choose it. And sometimes in some shops it's like literally intermixed. Like they'll have the Heineken like original, and then they'll have the Heineken Zero right next to it. I went out about 2 weeks ago, and I went to get 4 of these. Right, so I went to a corner shop, and I got one out, and I got the second one out, and I got the third one out, and I got the fourth one out. And I was walking to the till, and the person I was with pointed and was like, "Hey Josh, you've accidentally got on a normal Heineken." And I looked at it, and I was holding 3 Heineken Zeros and a Heineken Original. And I thought, what? That's weird. That's weird. So I put the Heineken Original back, and I went and grabbed another from the shelf. And then she pointed and was like, "You've done it again." And it was like they've stacked it in that sort of way that it, you know, that could have been an accidental like thing there. And that really frustrates me. Also, what frustrates me is sometimes, like, after the pub shut and you want to get a couple like cans with your mates or whatever, like they get to get nice refrigerated ones, and mine are in the fucking like dry shelf next to it where it's not refrigerated. So they get nice cold beers and I get a warm one. That frustrates me. Also, what frustrates me, and I know it's not really like, because it's the cost, because these aren't like significantly cheaper than alcoholic beers. In fact, I'm kind of paying more for these than I was paying for that fucking Perlenbacher shit that I was getting. Like 4 of them is £3.09 for 500 millilitres. This is £4.50 for 330 millilitres. So I'm getting less, but at the same time, I drink less of them because I'm not compulsively getting them. I'm not going to the fridge and getting fucking like a whole 4-pack just so that I can get all of them, because I know I'm going to drink them in that amount of time, so I don't have to keep going back and forth to the fridge. You know, like a 4-pack of this will last me like 3 days. A 4-pack of that would last me like 6 hours. And so there's a couple little frustrations there, but they're to do with the logistics of the supply chain, I suppose. And I feel like I don't really have any words to anyone that would that is looking at this trying to quit, or maybe they're looking at this and just sort of going, "Oh, shut the fuck up, you think you've got a problem or whatever. Like, look at me, I'm way worse." And it's like, this isn't a competition, right? It's not about who can be the most fucked up, and it's just about trying to make yourself as happy as possible. And for me, quitting drinking really made me a lot happier, and it made life feel like it actually begun. And for the first time possibly in my entire life, I look forward to the future. Yeah, I don't know, it's a hard video to make really, because I was gonna, like, throughout the video I was gonna like throw fucking stones into the river, but I forgot because I got so into this. I don't know, I don't even know how long this one is. I just know that it's a hard topic to cover because it's quite a sensitive topic, and you know, if you're watching this, you feel like, I don't know, maybe you're drinking, but maybe you feel like, that's another thing I was worried about doing in this video. I don't want to feel like I'm judging other people that do drink, that make the choice to drink. This isn't a video to judge others for their decision. It's a video to sort of maybe help people that are earlier on in the journey that I was on, to maybe make that step, to show them that it can be done, that it is possible, and that once it happens, it can be easier than it actually looks, and it can be more satisfying than it can actually look. And it's not like you need to give up fun to give up drinking. In fact, it's the other way around. I think that's going to be the video, because yeah, this is fucking depressing. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Hope you managed to get something out of this. I really hope you managed to get something out of this. Please leave your life story in the comments below. I'm not going to respond to like all of them, or probably even most of them, but I'd love to see what's going on, and get some discussion going on in the comments, and just, let's try and help each other out. Maybe if a couple people can meet in this comment section and just like enjoy just commenting back and forth to one another, like almost like pen pals, that would just, that would make my fucking like year, to be honest. So yeah, I'm gonna finish this up, and I've got a couple other videos to shoot, and then yeah, thank you very much for watching this one. I really mean that, for watching this all the way to the, like, how long is this? I'm really hoping that the shot is okay as well. Jesus Christ, it's long. Yeah. Yeah, fuck it, whatever. There was a robin that kept sitting on the camera, and the camera is literally, it's on like a muddy slope, and it's propped up by my jacket and a pebble and the lens cap and a twig. And I managed to somehow like MacGyver something out of that. I'm surprised it's managed to hold this long, and like honestly, I spent quite a long time trying to set the shot because I really wanted to do it here, because this isn't like one of the first places I drunk, but me and my friends used to sometimes come down here, and we would like sit around this little area. Sometimes not the tide, but like the pebbles go out further than this sometimes, and like we get some beach chairs down, you know, and like bring like a crate of beers and that, and just like drink, listen to some music. Someone bring like a portable speaker, take suggestions and stuff. And you know what? I don't even feel the need to be nostalgic for that stuff, because now that I've quit drinking, that stuff has begun to happen again. And life has become more interesting. I always felt like I would never be able to get what I had. And now I don't even want what I had, because it's nothing compared to this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the texts that I get from family and friends because of this fucking video. Oh. Also, alcohol kind of makes you sweat, like a nasty beer sweat. Ugh. Ugh. God. Oh. Jesus. By the way, sorry for the depressing one. Right, just so you see, I am like picking up my shit after me, so like, I'm not just littering. So you see, there's that little cap as well. There's a bin somewhere up there, so I'm going to chuck it in that. Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and this is a bit of a hard video to make because it's about a very controversial subject, and I'm not going to please everyone with this, and you know, all that standard disclaimer sort of stuff. Vegans, right? Now I'm not a vegan, but I was raised vegetarian. Right? I was born 1999 and I was vegetarian until 2016. So it was the way I was raised. And you know, I'm kind of thankful for it because it made me be able to live without meat if I choose to. But now that I'm not a vegetarian anymore, I can have a bit of meat if I want, but I don't have vast amounts of meat really. Like I might buy a pack of bacon once a month. I might buy like some smoked salmon. Might have a burger if I go out to a restaurant or like something like that. I don't really eat McDonald's or Burger King or anything like that, but you know, I had a Big Mac just to have one, and they're not that good. And you know, I do like meat, but it's not the best thing ever. I don't think it's the tastiest thing in the universe. And so I feel like, say if veganism was just enforced on everyone, personally, I wouldn't be missing very much. I mean, I like a steak, I like some bacon, they're all right, you know. They're good foods. I don't think they're my favourite foods. I'm not someone that, like, I still eat a lot of the Quorn sort of stuff. Quorn's like a meat substitute, and when I was growing up, it was the only meat substitute. Now you've got all sorts, like Beyond Burgers, and like every supermarket has their own brand sort of version of you know, non-meat sort of things. And an argument that's used against vegans is, oh, well, if you're vegan, why do you want to try and replace meat? And it's like, a lot of vegans aren't like saying that meat doesn't taste good. Like, I think a lot of vegans would agree that like bacon's nice, steaks are nice, right? But they disagree on a moral level with, you know, the idea of farming an animal, factory farming, industrialized factory farming. When I was trying to search for my first like proper paid job, I was on Indeed, which is like a job searching website, and I saw a listing for a job called a chicken sexer. And that kind of attracted me because I just thought, sexer, I wonder what that is. So And it also paid like twice as much as all the other jobs that I was looking at. So I thought, okay, maybe that'd be interesting. I could be a chicken sexer. So I looked up what that actually means. And what a chicken sexer does is, so they stand at a conveyor belt and there's a load of baby chicks that come in. And basically what they do is they pick up a chick, they shove its finger up its arsehole, and then they figure out from that if it's a boy or a girl. And if it's a girl, they plonk it back on the conveyor belt. And if it's a boy, then they throw it into this grinder thing, which just kills them instantly, turns them into mulch. And they just do that. They do that every day, all day, for probably like 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I looked at that and I thought, Jesus, that's grim. And I just tried to imagine myself in that environment doing that sort of thing. Could I do that? Even like, because I like chicken, I like the taste of it. It tastes quite nice, you know? I don't think it's the most interesting meat in the universe or anything like, but it's nice little food, especially put some paprika on it and you fry it, it's quite nice. But I just thought, oh God, this is awful, that. The idea of doing that for a job, you know? And then I started thinking about, you know, the fact that I'd recently stopped being a vegetarian, because this is like 2017, I stopped being a vegetarian the year before. And I kind of thought, maybe I should go back to it, because, you know, I wasn't raised vegetarian, I don't think necessarily for moral reasons. There was a bit of moral, a little bit of diet, a little bit of everything, right? And it was just the way that I grew up. And, you know, I occasionally would have the urge to try a bit of meat. I tried one of those pepperami fucking things that school kids would have, and I just thought it was disgusting. I didn't understand why anyone would want one. But I'm sure if I grew up with meat, I would like them, and I'd feel nostalgia for them, but I don't. And, you know, I feel like when people make the argument that, ooh, vegans think they are morally superior, like, I kind of think that they are morally superior, because, right, so eating an animal does involve killing an animal, right? Whether you do it or not, either you hunt the animal and you kill it, which I don't really have a massive problem with. Like, I'd rather not. I don't particularly want to shoot a deer between the eyes and then feast on its carcass. But I don't like have a moral issue with that, because that kind of is part of nature. But I do have an issue with industrialized factory farming. Like the idea that, you know, you see any of the footage from inside these sort of farms, and it's grim stuff. It's not fun to look at, and it kind of ruins your appetite. Like, I wouldn't recommend watching any of that sort of stuff while you're eating some meat, because like, if you don't feel a little bit repulsed and want to kind of put down your fork, I don't know, does it say something about your morals? Like, because there's various arguments against veganism, one of which is, well, you're causing loads of death anyway from insects, and plants can feel pain, and, you know, all the insects that are like incinerated from the farming of wheat and stuff like that. But then, you know, how do they feed the animals until they get slaughtered? Well, they feed them on grain and stuff, and they need to grow the grain, so those insects are going to get killed anyway. So there's less insects being killed, and plants can feel pain. I mean, I'm sure they can, right? But I think reducing the suffering overall is a good thing. And then maybe in 100, 200 years or so, we can work on that problem of figuring out, you know, plants feeling pain. Is it right to just uproot a plant and just like rip it apart and eat it? You know, we could sort that out after the fact. Maybe do one issue at a time. And I feel like a lot of people want to just solve every issue at the same time. And if you can't solve everything at once, then there's no point in solving anything. And that always frustrates me a little bit. And I don't know, I've been thinking about going vegan again for probably about a year and a half. And I've sort of gone like maybe a couple months without eating meat. Not like I quit meat or anything, I don't even really notice it, I just stopped buying it. And then I wouldn't say I relapse either on meat, I just kind of have it if I go out to a restaurant or something, or I might like walk through Lidl and I think, oh, I fancy some bacon, and I'll get some, and you know, that kind of thing. And so I'm not a vegan, but I do kind of respect vegans and think that they are morally superior. They've got their moral ducks more in a row than I do, right? Because I can acknowledge the horrors that I'm taking part in, and yet I still continue to be complicit in them. And I still engage with this industry that causes untold suffering. You know, the deaths from chickens alone is like in the billions per year, something like that. I think there's a website where you can stay on it and it will like tick up every time an animal gets killed, and it's just like tick 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 tick, tick, and you stay on the website for a minute and like all the counters for like basically every animal are in the millions, apart from like quite niche things like whales and stuff like that, and camel. Apparently you can eat camel, and that's quite a like common thing to eat. I don't know. It's a hard subject to tackle this because I know that I'm not going to please everybody. I'm probably going to annoy the vegans by, being aware of their issues whilst not joining them in, not eating meat anymore, because I'm continuing to be complicit in this industry. And I'm not going to please the meat eaters either, the carnies, as vegans like to call them. Right? I'm not going to be in their good books either, because I'm basically sort of saying that they're morally inferior to these knobheads over here that are apparently loud and like won't shut up about how they're vegans. But I've met vegans, and to be honest, it never really comes up unless like, it comes up naturally in a conversation, and even then it doesn't last very long. You sort of go, no, I can't have that. Oh, why not? Oh, I'm a vegan. Oh, fair enough. Why is that? Just, for moral reasons, just don't really like what's going on with all the factory farms and stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's fair enough. I watched that documentary about it. Oh, yeah, what's the documentary called? I've put it, and then you take your phone out and you put it on the little notes app on your phone, and you say you're going to watch it later, and then you never watch it later. And that's about it. I've never had, the typical internet like meme of like, how dare you not be a vegan? I'm so offended. I've never had that. And no one I've ever met seems to have had anything like that. So, I'm not going to say it never happens. I'm sure there's knobhead vegans out there, just like there's knobhead everybody's out there. But I've never seen this issue. I've never seen this being a problem. And I don't know, I feel like it's a good way of delegitimizing people who care about certain issues to just make fun of how they act about it. Like if they shout or if they scream, then you can just not bother responding to what they're actually saying whilst they're screaming, because, they're screaming it, so obviously we shouldn't bother listening to them. I don't know. It's a hard subject to tackle, and I don't think I've tackled it with any real dignity, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just, I've been thinking about going vegan again, and there's a few things that come with that. One, I like milk. Right, and I don't really like any of the replacements for it. Oat milk's okay in coffee, but it's not good in tea. Nothing really works well with tea, so that's kind of a problem. No vegan cheese tastes nice whatsoever. I haven't found a single one that tastes nice. And those are the two main hurdles for me, milk and cheese. I like both of those things. Eggs, I could live without eggs. I've kind of stopped eating eggs in the past couple months. I've had a few, but I feel like now I could go without eggs if I so chose, right? If I just said no more eggs, I could stop eating eggs. But I don't think I could stop drinking milk, and I don't think I could stop having cheese, because I like cheese. Like, it's just a nice thing. I'm not a particularly like connoisseur of cheese. I'm just talking about cheddar and Parmesan, but I like those, and I do like to have a bacon sandwich once in a while. I like having my salmon on toast because that's a really quick, easy sort of snack meal / meal. It's like more than a snack, but it's not quite a meal. So it fills you up enough, but it only takes like 5 minutes to make, and it's kind of healthy. So all of those things kind of come together, and it's like, yeah. And like, I'd never stop taking cod liver oil because, like if I kind of need it, I'm not gonna like not take things that I actively need for my health. But also, like, I've heard the argument from vegans that you shouldn't even try to reduce your intake because that's not good enough. Like, we need to all be vegans. Like, vegans don't like vegetarians, and I was a vegetarian for the longest time. I've never been a vegan, but I've been vegetarian, and the difference, I think, isn't that massive. Like, vegetarian is on the path to being a vegan, right? So I think that they should kind of be a bit more cool with one another, because, it's better than nothing, and you are reducing suffering overall by being a vegetarian. And sure, you are still complicit in an industry of evil by buying milk and eggs and cheese and all the other stuff, and, getting a leather jacket and stuff like that. But, I don't know, it's better. If we were all vegetarians, right, I think we would be on the path to ridding ourselves of the amount of suffering that goes on, and we wouldn't have to have jobs like chicken sexers anymore, because that is just such a actually, we would still need jobs like chicken sexers. So maybe it's not good enough to just be vegetarian, but it would at least be better than the system we have now, right? I just think about that job, and it makes me feel sick. The idea of sitting there all day, every day, just murdering fucking baby chickens for very little pay. Like, it was only 40 grand a year. And it's like, that's not good enough, you know, to basically be like the equivalent of like the Nazi officer at Auschwitz. Like, sometimes I've walked down the meat aisle at Sainsbury's, and I remember distinctly, I was going through a hard point in my life, and I walked down the meat aisle, and I just saw little Auschwitzes everywhere, just like genocides going on all around us. And it really kind of fucked me. And what really fucked me was I didn't stop eating meat when I realized this. And I thought, why? Why have I not done that? What's wrong with me? And I'm sure there'll be people in the comments that go, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, this is how we're made to eat meat. And it's like, I don't think we are made. I don't believe in God, and I don't really believe that we're here for any like purpose, particularly, other than to try and make life as sort of generally nice for ourselves as possible. So I don't believe like that we're put here for a certain cause. And there's the argument that like, oh, it's natural. But it's like, well, not all things that are natural are good for you. There's poison ivy, there's snakes that can kill you with one bite, there's fucking all sorts of stuff. There's like flies that can inject their larvae into your skin, and then the eggs just like patch inside you and eat you from the inside. And it's like, there's tapeworms that can, like electric eels that can like go up your knob, and like all sorts of stuff. And it's like, well, clearly just being natural isn't good enough to you know, get the stamp of quality, you know. But at the same time, do we want to live in an industrialized, well, we already do live in an industrialized world where everything's kind of fake, and in terms of like chemicals in the food and all that sort of stuff, because all the meat you see in the supermarkets has got like all sorts of preservatives and stuff sitting in it. Like, so I don't know. Because I had a steak the other day, right? And I thought, because the steak was kind of like, there was 2 steaks in the packet, and I had one the day I got it, and then I waited like 5 days to eat the other one, and I was a little bit worried about eating the second one because it looked a little bit, didn't look off, but it just didn't look the best anymore, right? And it was the day before the best before day, and I was kind of like, oh God. And as I was sort of having it, I kind of thought, I'm really worried about getting food poisoning here. And like this is why I cook with like corn rather than chicken, because if I want to reheat something, I don't really want to stick something with chicken in the microwave, like reheat it. It freaks me out because I don't want to get food poisoning. I got food poisoning by trying to make a chicken soup, and I was ill for like a week, and it was miserable, and I was like puking my guts out. It was awful. Did not like that one bit, and I don't really want to have that again. And corn and like meat-free alternatives, I don't really have that worry, so it's kind of all right. I don't know, this is a very rambly video, I do recognise that, and I haven't come to any good conclusion particularly. I've kind of just raised a lot of questions, and if you have the answers to any of these questions, please leave them in the comments. Let's try and get a respectful discussion going back and forth on this issue, because I'm sure some of you agree, I'm sure you all disagree with me in various ways, and some of you will disagree with one another on how you disagree with me. And yeah, let's try and sort of come together and figure out something, some kind of consensus. Because surely even reducing this, you know, intake of meat by just a little bit would be something. And I feel like I'm putting my reputation on the line here a little bit, because this is a really touchy subject. This is almost the equivalent of like doing a video about Palestine or something like that. And it's like it's not that I don't care about Palestine, but I don't know. I feel like you hear about it all over the place. So you come to these sort of videos to get away from that sort of stuff. And maybe you come to these videos and you don't want to be lectured about how you should stop eating meat, you know. And I don't intend to do that. And I'm sorry if that's the interpretation that you took from this. And I'm also sorry if you're a vegan watching this and you just sort of see this and you think he's spreading like a bad message to people. And it's like, I'm spreading the best message I can. I'm just trying to figure out the answers. I don't have everything figured out, and I don't try and pretend to. I just want to understand how we can better our world. And yeah, that's basically it. So please leave your comments in the thing below about, you know, are you a vegan? Are you a vegetarian? Are you a meat eater? Why are you any of these things? Have you even thought about it? Do you think about it much? Do you find that vegans are loud and annoying? Do you find the reverse, that carnivores, even though they're not carnivorous, they're omnivorous, but like, I know there's people out there that do oh, I only eat meat diet, but let's just forget about them because they are completely irrelevant because they're just a joke. So yeah, do you think that like veganism is good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think that maybe vegetarians are all right? Do you think that they're not doing enough? Do you think that we're all complicit in a system of oppression? I don't know. Yeah, leave your thoughts in the thing below, because I haven't come to any good conclusions out of this, so I'd like to see what you guys think. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you managed to get something out of it. Feel like you probably didn't. And yeah, take care everybody. Bye-bye. Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about finding things to watch, right? Because in the past, you know, you had your TV, right? And you would stick the TV on and you would flip through the channels, and that was your decision. What channel are you going to watch, right? So you would turn the TV on and it would be on ITV2 because your mum had just been watching it, and you would think, well, I don't really want to watch ITV2 and like, you know, Call the Midwife and stuff. I want to watch you know, World's Wildest Police Chases. So I'd flip it from ITV2 to ITV4, and that would be my little decision because I wanted to watch Police Interceptors or whatever, that kind of thing, right? And you can kind of bring that forward into the modern day of 2025, and now instead of having a TV that you turn on, and then it's basically just a case of choosing between, say, 5 to 100 channels, depending on if you've got Freeview or if you've got Sky, you've got like 1,000 channels. But really, if you've got that, you're not watching 99% of them. You know, you're not watching channel like 688 on Sky TV. I think that's the shopping channel. But you're not watching all these things. They've got like 100 channels for sport, and you might only watch one of those channels for sport. You're certainly not watching all of them. You don't need all these channels. And to take that further into the modern day with, you know, YouTube and stuff, is that, so I turn on YouTube and I get greeted with the homepage, and the homepage has all sorts of stuff on it, right? So at the moment, my homepage has Dream Theater, What Did They Say, plus Wipeout, plus Canadian rap. Then it's got some stuff about ChatGPT is too woke, which I'm not interested in. Then it's got something about Frankie Boyle, which I don't care about. Then it's got a channel called The Soy Pill, which I've watched a little bit of. But that was only because it came up on here. It came up on this little feed, right? And because it came up on the feed, it was right in front of me. That's kind of similar to when you would go on, you know, channels and you would flip from ITV2 to ITV4. It's got the same kind of thing here, but instead of there only being 100 channels, it just goes down and down and down, and it just keeps going. And it will never end this. I could just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, right? And it's never going to stop, right? Because it's an infinite algorithm, right? It's an infinite feed, right? And because of that, that means that I have so much choice that how am I supposed to choose what I want to watch? And then on top of that, there's the little search thing. And, you know, I don't know what I want to search immediately. Because if I wanted to watch Police Interceptors or World's Wildest Police Chases on ITV4, right? I knew that there wasn't that much on TV anyway, right? I knew that at 6 o'clock The Simpsons would be on, so at 6 o'clock I knew I would want to watch The Simpsons, so I'd change it to Channel 4. And, you know, if it's daytime TV, I know that ITV4 is always playing random police stuff, or Challenge, the TV station's always playing old game shows. And that was just a straight, easy little bit of content, as we call it now, right? But now, I don't have that. I don't have just a small selection of channels to choose from, where the idea of pumping a certain thing to me is a little bit more wholesome in a way, because I feel like, you know, Challenge TV, it's nice, calming sort of thing like that, or reality TV, and you're in the internet now, and you kind of look back at all of that as being a bit antiquated. But just yesterday, I went to someone's house and they had a TV license. I haven't had a TV license for about 10 years. And so I've just been watching stuff on the internet, or like Netflix and stuff. And if I want to watch something on Netflix, I don't watch anything on Netflix, because I sit there and I think, oh, I don't really want to watch that. Oh, I don't really want to watch that. Oh, I don't really want to watch that. And I just keep doing that again and again and again and again and again. But with a TV, I don't have that luxury. because it will just put on what it puts on, right? And as a result, there's not that paralysis of choice, paralysis of a decision. I'm free to just put it on and just let it do its job of entertaining me, rather than me having to entertain myself by finding what the perfect thing for me is, that is, you know, perfectly accustomed to my taste. Because your feed isn't going to have like the stuff that is on my feed, and that'll be the same for every single person. You know, we all have different feeds. You ever notice, right? Say someone comes over to your house and they put a few YouTube videos on, right? That your homepage starts to look a bit different, and it starts to recommending stuff that they like, right? And if you go to their house, you'll see now that your feed that looks like what they were putting on, their feed always looks like that. And if you go to someone's house, right, and you put on something that's to your taste, then you go back to that person's house a couple days later, they've got your stuff on their feed, right? And that's kind of neat how we can have this individuality to it, but at the same time, it's a bit of a problem because it means that we're all so splintered off that it's hard to find common ground of people. You know, you'll sort of go, oh, have you seen this YouTube channel? And they won't have seen it because it's a random YouTube channel with like 30,000 subscribers. And you know, there's tens of millions of channels with 30,000 subscribers out there, you know? So it's nothing special. So you're just sitting there with all of this stuff that's pumped and is almost like it's made for you. And obviously there's other people that it's made for, but you don't see those people. They're off in the distance. You know, well, like when I was in school, people would go like, oh, did you see Thingy on Channel 4? Oh, no, I didn't see that. I was watching ITV. Oh, but then someone else over there was like, oh, I saw that on ITV. That was brilliant. And, you know, you had that common ground. You could talk about stuff. I feel like now you can't quite do that. There's not that same level of being able to have a chat about a bit of content. I mean, obviously we have like some big YouTubers. We all know, like, you know, your KSIs and your Logan Pauls and stuff, but we don't actively sit down and watch them. You know, I've never met a Logan Paul fan in my life. And like, I'm of the age demographic where I should know some people that are into Logan Paul. In fact, if I was like a few years younger, I'd be the perfect target demographic for Logan Paul. And yet I've never found anyone that's around this age bracket that's meant to be the perfect target demographic for Logan Paul that actually likes him. And yet he's got tens of millions of subscribers. He's always in the fucking news. I can't escape him. He's just everywhere. And I barely know anything about him, right? I don't know if he's any good. I doubt it, because I mean, he did the whole suicide forest thing. That wasn't very nice of him. But you know what? In the past, you had all of these like characters and stuff on the TV. Like, I'm talking about personalities that hosted like, you know, game shows and stuff. Like the guy that did Family Fortunes, Les Dennis. You know, you'd know him. You know, you wouldn't know him personally, but you'd know what Family Fortunes was about because you'd see him. And I feel like loads of people would watch Family Fortunes, or loads of people would watch, you know, The Only Way is Essex. And, you know, at the time, I would look at like stuff like The Only Way is Essex and go, oh, what a load of trash. But at least there was a commonality where people could talk about the stuff that they'd watched. But now you don't quite have that. Like at the moment, I'm really into Dream Theater, right? And I don't know anyone else who's currently really into Dream Theater. So I'm kind of just like on my own, liking this thing. And it's a little bit lonely because, you know, no one else is really into this thing, and I can show someone a Dream Theater song and they go, oh, that's good. But they won't listen to any more of it, and I don't expect them to or anything like that, because they've got their taste in music and I've got mine, and when they show me something that they like, I sit there and go, oh yeah, this is good, this. And then I never put it back on, I never go back to it really. So we're all splintered off, we're all in our own little universe, and I don't think that that's the best way to be. I feel like we would be a lot more, you know, because people talk about how the modern day has kind of caused division, you know, there's all the division in politics and all that sort of stuff, and I think the division from politics, you can extrapolate that to more of a division in societal sort of norms and that kind of thing. We all splintered off into our own little groups, and the groups aren't in real life, the groups are on the internet. The groups are, you know, furries, for instance. So the furries all exist in their own little quadrant of the world, and they all meet up on the internet. But you don't, you know, you wouldn't have a furry friend and you're a furry and you both go chatting about furry stuff. Or same with like, what else is there? I don't know. People that like mukbangs, you know? There's probably loads of people that like mukbang, right? But I don't like mukbang. And I'm sure I know some people that like it, but I don't know anyone who talks to someone else about mukbangs. They all just sit and watch it on their own. We don't have that common appreciation of certain things. You know, you have it with movies, but most people now, when they talk about like movies and stuff, we're talking about movies from at least 5 years ago. usually more like 10, 15, 20 years ago. We're talking about TV shows that are like from 2002. We're not talking about TV shows. I've not seen any TV shows in the 2020s. Actually, that's a lie. I've seen Why Women Kill, series 1. That was quite good. And I've seen Squid Game. That was all right. But it had a cliffhanger at the end. And apparently series 2 of Squid Game's good, but like, fuck off. It was fine as it was. You didn't need to end it on a cliffhanger. You made your point about capitalism, right? And then you go and put a sequel hook at the end of it in like the most ultimate form of irony. And then you go and make a game show out of it, completely missing the point of the TV show originally, which is that we shouldn't be doing this. But anyway, I just think that it's a bit of a problem that we're splintering off and we're fracturing into these little groups because of algorithms, because algorithms control our personalities now. You know, like, I've probably only got into Dream Theater because it kept spitting Dream Theater out of me, because I like bands that are semi-adjacent to that. You know, I like Tool, and I like a bit of King Gizzard and stuff like that, and it probably saw what I was listening to and was like, this guy will probably like Dream Theater, and it turns out he does, right? But you know, I didn't find it through like the top 200 of the Billboard or whatever, you know, and that's the way that people would have found music. They would have gone to a record shop and like put the record on, and there would have been that common ground. You know, metalheads could all come together and show a metal band to one another, you know, but now there isn't quite that same thing. And now people meet up via like Facebook things where it's all pre-organized and predetermined and stuff like that. And it's a little bit like going to the, you know, the old ladies sewing committee at the local library, but it's just metalheads, you know, because we've all arranged it in a determined way, and it's all planned and figured out properly and delicately beforehand. And I just don't think that it's quite the same, really. I do understand that it's good to have choice. And I like the fact that I have more choice now compared to, do I want to watch ITV3 or ITV4, or do I want to watch BBC Two, you know? I'm glad that I have more choice than that, but I feel like it's gone too far the other way, and too much of a good thing is always bad for you. If you know how they say an apple a day keeps a doctor away, but if you just ate a barrel of apples, you'd be straight into that fucking clinic, right? Because too much of a good thing is never good for you, because say if you were, it's the same way they say money doesn't buy you happiness. If you get the most money in the universe, you're not going to be a happy individual. You know, like, if you just planted, you know, infinite rose bushes in your garden, you wouldn't be able to go in your garden without getting stung. So I just think that it's nice to have more choice than what we did, and it's nice that I can find stuff that's a little bit like catered towards me and my taste, right? Because maybe it helps me to figure out who I am a little bit. But then, is it me that's making these decisions? Sure, I made the decision to click on the fucking Dream Theater for the first time and then realised I liked it and came back to it more. I made the decision to watch that original Soy Pill YouTube video, and now I quite like his YouTube videos, so I've gone and watched the rest of them. And now I've watched them all, so I'm probably not gonna, I'll maybe rewatch a couple of the best ones, and then I'll find another YouTuber. And that's just what happens, you know? They just get added to the fucking pile. And now it's all just commodified. And I feel like, at least when, you know, sure, it was all corporatized and stuff before, but because there wasn't that much of it, there was more of a authenticity to it, because you had to get something out of it, because this was all you had. You didn't have much more variety of choice. And now we have so much variety of choice that it paralyzes us. That's why these YouTube Shorts things here, this is why these are so powerful to people now, why people get addicted to them. You know, you just start watching one, and you watch another, and another, and another, and another, and you end up finding yourself like 45 minutes in, and you realize you've been in a trance, and you snap yourself out of the trance. Like, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time just doing this. Right? And you keep doing that, and you finally snap yourself out of it. But that's what we used to have, but to a lesser degree. It's gone too far back that way, and I feel like everything's a bit unstable now. Whereas before, you know, you knew that all you had to watch was The Simpsons, Come Dine With Me, Doctor Who, and Ren and Stimpy, and that was your lot. And everything else on telly sucked, but if that was on, that was good. And if that wasn't on, then you could always go on Challenge TV, and whatever was on there would be pretty decent. You know, they'd have like, you know, Bullseye or Catchphrase or, you know, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, stuff like that. And that was just a nice thing that you could just chuck on, you know. But now, say you go to someone's house, right, and you're showing one another various things. I feel like everyone is able to just pull stuff out that is just them and their personality so easily, but I struggle because I feel like I've been given everything to me. So I don't know how to find something myself. I never use the search function really, apart from to find something that the YouTube algorithm already showed me that I'm interested in. I never think, oh, I want to watch a video about monkeys, so I type in videos about monkeys. I don't do that because it's not 2009 and we've just discovered search terms and stuff. Now we're all used to that sort of thing, so we just don't bother with it. There's not that sort of thing that you find in an interesting way. Now everything just gets shoved to you by an algorithm. And I just think that it could be a little bit better than this. I think that we could have more of a, I don't know, a middle ground where we have some stuff, like the idea that I had, I think they might have done it, I'm not sure, is that maybe it's not on Netflix, it's on like Disney Plus or one of the other fucking things, right? Is what you do, there's a button that's called like TV channel mode, and you go on Netflix and you click the TV channel mode, and it'll be like channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, and they'll all be a little bit different. Like channel 1 will be a bit like for like middle-aged mums, channel 2 will be for middle-aged dads, and channel 3 will be for the kids, and channel 4 will be for the nan, and channel 5 will be for the uncle, and that kind of thing, right? And that's pretty nice. It's nice that that's a thing, and I think we should do more of that. We should have more of a feed that doesn't require us to think so much, but at the same time, like, I like the tailoring to us aspect of it, but I feel like we shouldn't have stuff so tailored to us that it fits us snugly. I feel like it shouldn't fit us snugly. I feel like it should be a bit loosely fitting so that it can fit more people, so that we can find common ground of one another and that we can go, oh, you like that thing as well? Because at the moment, they're not going to find that real thing because there's so many things that how am I supposed to know if that person likes it? Because there's so many things out there that they like that and I like this, and we're just never going to find one another because there's so many things out there that the chance of, you know, finding that common ground just reduces. Because back when there were only 100 channels, if I met 100 people, guaranteed one of them will like the same TV channel I do. But now there's like billions of YouTube channels and I'm never going to meet billions of people. So it's not really going to work, is it? So yeah, that's basically the point of the video, is that I'm a little bit frustrated with the state of algorithms and how, you know, I don't want it to go straight back to what we had, but I don't like what we have now either. And I'm sure whatever comes in the future, I'll probably look back at now with a bit of nostalgia, and I think that was the better system, because I do think the TV channel system was a bit better. But, you know, I don't know. When I watched TV, right, yesterday, when I went to a friend's house and we watched some TV, it was like watching TikTok, but long form. It's when you scroll through the channels, right, and you just get a bit of like, and then you get a little bit of a person going, oh, do you like this dish? And then you get a bit of a person going, don't you be saying that to my child, eh? And then you just, you know, you're skipping through them and you get a few little lines like that, the same way that if you're scrolling, whoop, 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 like that, you get a few, like, couple first seconds of the feed of the TikTok or whatever. You get the same kind of thing by flipping through TV channels, but when you stay on it, the TikTok lasts longer than like a minute. Now it lasts for like 30 minutes or an hour, and there's adverts in between. That's something else I noticed, by the way. There's less adverts on not like there's less like adverts in terms of the runtime of the adverts, there's just less adverts, so you see repeats of adverts more often. I watched TV for about 2 hours yesterday, right, and I was starting to see the same adverts being repeated again and again. That never used to be the case when I was a kid. You'd see a repeat maybe every couple days. So maybe it's because less people watch TV, so there's less marketplace. So, you know, all the adverts seem like they were more tailored for old people anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a vent. It's a bit of a, I'm frustrated of the state of things as they are, and I'd like things to be different. But I want them to be a bit like today and a bit like the past. I don't want it to be something completely different. I want a meld of both, and that would do me nicely. That would do me really well. And so yeah, let me know what you think about that, whether we should have a little bit of a meld of you know, the old system combined with the new. Do you think that maybe the TikTok thing is kind of exactly what I'm talking about and I'm, you know, just rejecting what I've been offered? Do you think that TV, I'm maybe over-romanticizing it? Do you think that it was always terrible and like I didn't really enjoy police interceptors that much at the time anyway? Or do you think that maybe I'm right and that, you know, now we can't get on with one another, with, you know, our fellow man, and find common ground on various bits of movies and art and TV shows and stuff, because we all watch different things that are catered to us because we all search for it now? Yeah, just let me know your thoughts on that, and yeah, take care everybody, have a good rest of the day, love you all, and yeah, stick around for more of this. I go to like places in the world and just sit and do this really and just get my thoughts out there on stuff. And I recommend that you do it as well, because, you know, it's fun. It's an enjoyable activity. I know I don't look like I'm having fun doing it, but like, I'm having the time of my life right now. So yeah, have a good one, everybody. Take care, and love you all. Bye-bye. Hey up, everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today, I want to talk to you about a place that's very near and dear to me, somewhere that I've been going for many years, somewhere I've got an awful lot of fond memories of, and that place is here. This is Warren Farm Nature Reserve. It's an industrial, abandoned-looking wreck of a place, and I love it. It's easily my favourite place in the universe, and obviously there's some sentimental value to why I would say that, but at the same time, I just can't find any place that has the same level of, I don't know, freeing of the soul combined with just a beautiful sense of community. There's not many people here at the moment because it's the middle of February, but I just really love this place, and I have been coming here for a long time, and I'm basically going to tell you about the story of this place because it's under threat. It's all going to get knocked down, and there's people that want it to get knocked down, and all sorts of various things. And obviously I don't want it to get knocked down because I like it for what it is, and I think that there's so much that you can do here on a creative level, as well as just you know, a great place to just meet new people and just find, you know, friends and stuff, and just have little experiences that can make your life generally a little bit better. So yeah, when I first came here, one of my oldest friends told me about this place, and we came here together, and that was in 2013. I was 13 or 14 years old at that point, and to get here you had to go down a really long industrial estate, and then you had to cross a train track, and then you had to climb through a wire fence, and then you had to cross basically like a marsh swamp full of brambles, and it was really, really hard to get through. But you could see the abandoned buildings, these buildings in the background, you could see them in the distance. And so you knew what you were working towards, and you knew that you were, you know, the land that time forgot almost. Like, that's sort of how it feels. And you get here, and you get onto the concrete, right? And you'd start looking around. First, what we would do is we would clear the area. So basically we would just go up and down, and we treat it like we were in The Last of Us or something, or like in Call of Duty or something. You know, when you kind of got to clear a building, you know, like they do in the army. We kind of did that to make sure that there were no, you know, mentalists or anything knocking about, and there never were. And once we cleared it, we would just climb the buildings. We climbed the buildings behind. There's buildings on the other side of the camera. We just climb those, and we just have like fun. We try and break into the buildings. You know, it's like one of my friends of a friend had like a toolkit, his dad's toolkit, and he brought that down, and we tried to force our way into all the buildings. Because back then, you notice how there's just giant holes in all the buildings now? That wasn't the case back then. You couldn't actually get into any of these buildings, and so we were trying to get our way in. And yeah, we just did that for years. And I remember the first time I came here with 3 friends, right? And the building that's behind you, it's really awkward to climb up. You have to climb a small bit, and then you have to hop onto a bigger bit, and then you have to hop down. And then there's like this sort of building that has a roof with, you know, the little edge thing to it, and it had been flooded. And so you had to veer along the edge of the building to get all the way around so you could climb to a ladder, and then you would climb the ladder, and then you would get onto this water tower, and you could just look out over the city. And it was absolutely just euphoric. It was amazing, that experience. Must have been like July or August 2013 or something like that. I remember we were up there, and there was this like police do not cross tape, right? A big reel of it, right? And so we tied it to the end of one of the water tower poles, right? And we just threw it out. It was quite a windy day, so we just let it just billow in the wind, and it must have gone out for what looked like, you know, it looked like half a mile. It went just as far as the eye could see. It was so cool. Maybe we shouldn't have done that because it kind of alerted the police to our presence, and we peered over the edge and we saw 2 coppers coming along, and we're like, oh shit. So we started to climb our way down. I was the last one to climb down the ladder, and that meant we had to go, remember I told you that we had to sort of shimmy our way around this water flooded roof. I was shimmying along, and I realized that I was going to get caught, so I thought the only way out of this is to jump. So I jumped off a building that was like that high, which doesn't look that high in a video, but it's high in real life. It really hurt. I landed, you know, on my feet, you know, bend your knees a little bit, as you kind of do, and tried to run. And I got caught, and then all the other guys kind of got caught as well. And one guy was like run way down, but he actually came back as like, what's the word? Solidarity, essentially. And he came back, and the policeman had a word with us, and they basically just said, listen, we used to do the same kind of shit when we were your age, so you know, don't worry about it. But yeah, just don't go on the buildings because there's asbestos on them. And we're like, oh, okay, cheers. And you know, we were shitting bricks at that point. And around that time, I went back to school and I started telling everyone that I'd been in a police chase. And by a police chase, I mean I jumped off a building and hobbled for about 20 meters before I got caught. And then we kind of went straight home after that. We didn't, you know, the mood was kind of ruined by that. So we went home. And as I was going home, I realised that I was really far behind, and it was just getting really hard to walk, and like my ankle just really fucking hurt, and I was limping, and I just said to them, look, I'm slowing you down. Go home on your own. I'll make my way back. Don't worry about me. Just keep going, right, and just leave me. And they sort of said, oh no, don't worry about it. And I was just like, listen, I would actually prefer if you just left. That way I don't feel like I'm dragging you down, right? I can get myself home. It's not a problem. And the process of getting myself home after they sort of left was hobbled very slowly. I'm talking like this. It was literally like this level. Imagine having to walk. I probably live about 3 miles walk from here. I had to do this for probably about 2 hours, right? And I was getting every little bus, because when you're a kid, you can get buses for free. So I would get the bus and I would get it one stop, and then I would get off at the next bus stop, and just kept going and going. And I had 35 pence on me, and I really needed some water. I needed some water more than anything else in the world, right? And I couldn't get any water. I'd go into shop after shop, and you know, water bottles were 50p, and I only had 35p. But what they did have for 35p was a Boost energy drink. I was never a kid that liked energy drinks. I've probably had like less energy drinks in my life than I could count on my fingers. I probably had about 8 or 9, right? And this was one of them, because I had to get a can of Boost because it was the only thing I could afford. I was like, I need something, I need some drink just to satiate my thirst. And I don't even care if it's going to make me more thirsty in the long run. Yeah, it did. It didn't really provide me any energy. And you know when you're like really struggling, and so you kind of like talk to yourself to prep yourself. You're like, come on, I can do it. Come on, just another few houses. Come on, I can do it. I can do it. And you just continue like that, right? That's kind of what I was doing, just trying to get my way back home. And yeah, I had a limp for about a month after that. Then we kept coming here. We came here once, and you know, every time we come, there would be a different way of getting up the buildings that someone had set up. Even though we never saw anyone here, it was like the ghost of Christmas future came along and just like provided us with fucking little ways to get up these buildings. Like there was one time that just a ladder was here, so we moved the ladder. It was lying on the floor, pretty much where I'm sat now, and we moved it way down there. It was really one of those massive fucking ladders, you know, the really heavy ones that they use to build proper buildings. So we took that, and as one guy was climbing it, it fell backwards and trapped him underneath, and that looked like it really fucking hurt because it landed on his neck. He wasn't hospitalised or anything. He was fine, like more or less. He probably had the same thing as me, where he had to limp back home, but with a sore neck. Yeah, didn't look like much fun. That again kind of killed the mood, and we went back home, right? And then I kind of didn't come here for a little bit after that, for maybe a year or 2 years, and then I went into college and made a few friends there, and I brought one of my friends down here, and we climbed the building, and I was sort of showing him around, sort of doing the whole Last of Us, like clearing the entire area, making sure there was no one here, and we cleared the area, and yeah, around this point there's like a car park sort of looking thing down there, and they've been storing bins for the London borough that we're in. They you know, wheeled out some new wheelie bins for all the houses, and they were storing them over there. So I saw them like probably a few months before they actually got shipped out to everyone. And we were up this building, and we were like, you know, having a few drinks and a few smokes and stuff, and then we started hearing loads of voices down below, and like dogs barking and stuff, and it sounded pretty grim. So I sort of peered over the edge and it was like, oh shit, it's the fucking council. And the council were down there with like fucking like German shepherds and stuff. And they looked really angry. And so I said to him, listen, lie down. So we lay down like this, lie down, right? I'm just staring at the ceiling, right? And my friend sort of like to me, how long have we got to stay here? And I'm like, as long as it takes. And he's like, okay, fair enough. How long is it going to take? I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take. Do you want to go down there and talk to them? He said, no. I was like, right, so just lay down. And I was saying it kind of hush, hush. Right? What he does, he sees a really nice cloud in the sky and he gets his phone up like that to take a fucking picture of it. And as he does that, you hear a, oi! Get down here now! Right? And I'm like, oh, fuck's sake. So he gets up and I'm thinking maybe I can just stay lying here. And maybe they've only seen one of us. And he points to me and he reaches his hand out to help me out. And then the guy that's down below, he kind of goes, both of you now! Get down here. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Right, so we get down and they're basically like interrogating us. Like, what the hell are you doing here? This private property. It's not private property, it's council property. Council property is public property and I can do what I want here. So that was a bit irritating, how he seemed to act like he knew the law, like better than a fucking 16-year-old. And so whenever I tried to say anything like that, he was like, don't be getting smart with me. And I was like, you shouldn't be up there. And I'm like, yeah, but it's, okay, I'm sorry, I won't go back up there. Because I know I'm not allowed to be up there, but so that was a bit irritating. And the dog's fucking barking at me the entire time, like proper snarling and stuff, like it was like if it was going to be let off its leash, it would fucking attack me or something. And I didn't really want that to happen, so he asked for a load of information, and I just sort of had to give it to him, and that was annoying. And then we went back, right, and it didn't stop me from coming. I still kept coming here, and around that point the buildings were just about beginning to open up, and I've been thinking a lot about using this location for filming, because I was in college for media and stuff, and that's why I brought my friend, because we were in the same class together, and I wanted to show him my filming location that I wanted to do a film here in. And he was keen, so he came down, we sat, and he was a really good friend. We had loads of fun conversations that would last for hours, and we just wander around here, just in loops and just talk shit. And that was great. And yeah, then we're at about 2017, 2018 now, and I would come here every now and then, just with whatever friends were knocking about, just to come here, just to... Around that point, there were sofas and stuff all around here. There'd been a load of travellers that lived over there. And when they go from place to place, they just like leave everything behind. So there was loads of grim stuff. I remember I kind of helped the litter picking community help pick some of it up. But they had like giant sofas and shit all over the place. So what we used to do, I celebrated my birthday here a couple times, you know, and it was like going to the pub. But it's like an open pub, and the beers are really cheap. We can smoke inside because we're outside, and you can go in these buildings and have a smoke, and it's quite nice. And it was the middle of summer, so it was a lovely little like sun rays over you and all that sort of thing. I know it looks pretty miserable now, but in the summer it looks really lush. So yeah, we did that, and that was some really fun times. Just coming here and just like chatting shit with my friends, and just like sitting on the sofas all around here, and you know. Kind of felt like another world a little bit, you know, a world away from the world, because civilization isn't that far away from here. It might look like we're in the proper middle of nowhere, like we're in, I don't know, like Siberia or something, and like there's nothing for hundreds of miles around, but no, if you go down there, you walk for about 5 minutes, you'll get to civilization again. It's just on the other side of that. And yeah, that was a really good little time. That was one of, you know, fond memories. And in 2020, when the pandemic fucking thing started, I realised that everyone was free all of a sudden to sort of get stuff done. And because we can't meet in groups of more than 6, what we can do though, if we want to meet in groups of more than 6, is we can meet to film stuff. That's allowed. Like in Canada, for instance, they figured out a loophole to keep a hairdressers open, where they would do the hairdressing as normal, but they would just stick a phone in front of them and just record the haircuts being done. And then they would just put it on the internet. And because they did that, that meant that they were able to keep the place open for like a year until the Canadian government figured out a way of legislating how to put a stop to that. But here in the UK, there's a similar sort of thing, like exemptions for filming. So I came here and I managed to get quite a big crew actually, because everyone was free. Everyone didn't have like, you know, responsibilities to attend to and all that sort of thing. Everyone, all of a sudden, there was no more like, oh, I can't do Thursday, I can't do Saturday, I can't do Monday, oh, I can only do Wednesday, but this person can't do Wednesday and I need both of them. There was none of that. Everyone was just free to do whatever day I said to them. And that was fucking brilliant. So I was able to get a much bigger crew than I would have been able to get otherwise. I managed to get like, you know, like assistant camera and like shit like that. You know, like proper like sound assistants and like runners and shit. And that was amazing. And it, you know, you find all that stuff through Mandy.com. And I started doing a lot of things through Mandy.com. And like, you know, bringing on people and doing filming and stuff with them. And that's kind of what led me to the point where I'm at today, was coming here and making that film, which is called I Am Scum. Stars my friend Jake as the main character. It's basically a story about morality, essentially. Like, you know, in the apocalypse, you can't be a nice, giving person because people take advantage of you, that sort of shit. And it's pretty decently, like, you know, decent looking little film. It's a decent looking little film. I don't know why that was so hard to say. But yeah, and we filmed that in 2020. And then after that point, kind of got back in touch with one of my old primary school friends. And we started coming here, because he'd started coming here. Right, and the way I met him was actually really weird. I came here with a burlesque dancer that I was doing videos for. Basically, it's just like, and we had an agreement where like, neither of us get paid, but we can both use the footage for whatever we want. And I haven't used the footage yet, and it'll probably get used in a music video or something. But we went up to the building that's behind the camera, and she sort of like did a sort of burlesque stuff, and I'd film it, right? And then two of my old primary school friends just climbed up the building, and were like, "Oh, hi, Josh." Hi. And I was like, "Hello," right? And you know, the burlesque dancer obviously looked a little bit confused, and I was like, "These are friends from primary school. This is a coincidence." And then another one of my friends just popped up on a fucking moped just over there. I was like, "What the fuck is going on? You've all just, I'm trying to do a job here. I'm trying to get some filming done. What are you all doing? Go away a little bit." But like, you know, it's public land. They can do what they want. And you know, it was a fun little weird situation, and I just still find that so mad that happened, because it also, like, after the burlesque dancer left, me and primary school friends, we got talking, you know, about old times, reminiscing and stuff, and we went off and like went to the pub and had like a really fun like time, and then went back to one of their houses and just stayed up until like 3 in the morning just chatting shit, and that was really nice. That was a really solid memory. What else? There's been so many little things like that. Last year I filmed a music video for my last album, Decisions in Another Language. I filmed a music video for the song So I Guess This Is It, which I haven't released the music video yet, and I feel I'm going to repurpose the music video for someone else, because I feel like it didn't quite... I feel like the point of the music video is different from the point of the song a little bit, which was, you know, just basically bad directing on my part. But anyway, we came down here, right, and we were filming all coming around here, and like we're filming them like playing around as a couple, basically, like, you know, flinging each other around, like, ooh, hand holding and all that sort of bullshit, right? There's a drone over there, and I sort of said to them, "Give me a sec, I'm gonna go have a chat with the drone guy." So I went up to the drone guy, right, and I was like, "Ah," he was there with the fucking goggles on, but his mate was stood next to him, so I was like, "Ah, you all right? Have you got a lighter?" And I had a cigarette, and lighters, right, and smoking is a really useful way of just starting a conversation, right, which will be a topic for another video. But anyway, got into a conversation just over the lighter, and then like that brings you into the conversation. I start asking what they're doing, you know, like in a friendly way, not like, "What are you guys doing?" So I'm asking, and it turns out they were filming a music video the next day, and it had some like intricate kind of maneuvers to it, and so they were practicing their maneuvers essentially. Like there was one where they had to like go through like a thing like that, but the drone goes through it, and that was something they wanted to practice, because after that they needed to do some crazy thing, and they didn't want the camera to like flip out, and they didn't want to have to do it again and again and again, like 20 million takes for it, and leave people waiting. So they came here and did it as like a bit of practice, and I said to them, "Well, listen, I've got some actors over here, right? How about you do your practice on my actors, right? And then you just send me the footage, and you know, the footage will get used in a music video." He was like, "Yeah, all right." And so he starts directing my actors. He's like, actors, over there. And then he goes, run! And they start running, and the drone is flying over alongside them, and it was fucking amazing. Yeah, so that was a really great little experience, and the footage that came out of that is, oh, it's so beautiful. It's so gorgeous. Yeah, and it really helped complete the music video as well. And that's something that I've noticed coming here, is that every time I come here, maybe like 20% of the time, so every 1 in 5 times I come here, I meet just really cool people, you know, creatives and stuff. I remember there was some people filming like a drill music video somewhere like down there-ish, right? So I spoke to them, got the Instagram thing off them, and then, you know, we chatted for a little bit, and it didn't lead to anything, but, you know, it could have led to something, and for every time that doesn't lead to something, there'll be another time when it does. And the music was quite good. It's not my type of music, but like they did quite well at it. They were good in the genre. Who else have I met? Met someone here that was doing a little singer-songwriter-y sort of thing with an acoustic guitar. And they were just like singing and doing stuff like that. I can't remember what, I think they were doing it for TikTok or something. Who else have I met? Another thing that you find here is you find like people that are like sort of 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old that come here, and they're almost a little bit, I don't know, lost with life, and they love exploring. They really love exploring. They get such a kick out of it, and whenever I meet them, they very excitedly show me this place like I don't already know it, but I like seeing them really excited and giddy and showing me like, oh, you can go up this and you can do this, and I'm like, wow, I wish I still had the energy to get up that thing that you just climbed with ease. So yeah, like, you get an awful lot of people. I remember I came here about 7 years ago with like an ex-girlfriend or something, and we were sitting on top of one of the buildings, and there was this kid that just came along, and he looked right at us, and he looked a little bit forlorn, like, oh fuck's sake, they're up there, I wanted to go up that building, like that's his building. Like that's the one that he goes to you know, think about stuff, and like he's clearly got a little routine with it. And I remember the ex-girlfriend sort of leaning over to me and saying, you know, that kid's got a troubled home life. And I was like, how do you know? It's like, you can tell from his eyes. And I was like, shit. And it's like, if they got rid of this place, right, that kid is going to be, you know, pretty miserable as a result of it. He's not going to have a fun time because he's, you know, going to have to be at home more often, or he's going to have to go somewhere else. And this is just a lovely little escape. You know, there's no sense of society anywhere around here. There's no sense that there's anything, you know, all the worries of the real world don't apply here. And that's something that's pretty, you know, beautiful, I would say. You know, I've probably come here probably about 20 people, and, you know, they've all loved it, and they all, you know, try and come here on their own, or they ask me what the place was called. Again, and I'd sort of tell them, and like, oh, thank you. And as I've been coming here more and more, I've noticed it go from a place where literally no one knows about it, where you had to like go through bramble patches and crazy shit to actually get here, right, through an industrial estate. And now a new entrance, or maybe I just found a new entrance, so it's a better entrance down that way. And all the brambles and the marshland kind of got raised over and replaced with just like grass that grows, and it got a lot easier to come here, and so now you start seeing more like dog walkers and stuff coming through here sometimes, and I like the fact that that's happening, the fact that the community have discovered this place, because let me give you a brief history lesson on this place. So in the 50s or the 60s, this place opened up as a Warren Farm sports ground, and basically that's what these buildings are. They're changing rooms and stuff. So you know when you're in high school and you do sports day, I don't know what the American equivalent is, but sports day is basically just like at the end of the year, it's sort of like your exam for PE, but you do it competitively with a few other schools, and that you go to a specific area and you do like the running and the long jump and basically all the Olympic type shit. You basically do your own wee mini Olympics in school. And it's all right, it's fine, it's not that fun. I used to just go, I came last in the 200 meter race, but I was all right at the long jump. Yeah, that's what this place was. It was that's what this middle bit is here. This would be like probably, I don't know, where everyone would convene and you'd have like lines of schools and you'd try and figure out what school is what and all that kind of thing. And Yeah, it was that until I think 1997. I've got loads of paperwork at home. I don't know why I didn't bring the fucking paperwork with me. It's like receipts. I could have brought receipts with me, but you're gonna have to take my word for this and just Google it. And do Google it because it's interesting. So yeah, after it got shut down in 1997, it didn't become anything for a while. It kind of just sat here, forsaken essentially. And in 2013, Ealing Council, because this is in the London Borough of Ealing, this place, Ealing Council basically said to QPR, Queen's Park Rangers football team, we'll give you this bit of land on a 200-year lease. QPR was like, oh, sweet, how much? Ealing Council goes, free, mate, on the house. And that was pretty unhappy. I remember when I came here, I was on, me and a few friends, we'd taken some edibles and we came down here. And I was walking ahead of them, and the edibles hadn't hit yet. And the woman who like sorts out all of the Warren Farm sort of stuff and the legal battles to do with QPR, because people came to try and fight for the community to stop QPR from coming to build on this land. She was telling me all about it, and this is when I first discovered that this place was under threat. This place I've been coming to for 5 years was under threat. And I was just sat there thinking, please don't let the edibles kick in now. Please don't let the edibles kick in now. If they kick in now, I'm fucked. And I looked behind, and it looked like my friends, they'd kicked in for them. I'm just sitting there like, oh no. And after we said our goodbye, I said my goodbyes to the woman, right? I started telling them about everything that was going on quite manically, like how awful everything was, that they're going to try and take this place away from us. And what I decided to do from then on was try and raise awareness for the fact that Warren Farm was under attack essentially, and that it was going to be removed, and this was all going to be paved down. So I started looking deep into the plans, and I found all the PDFs that go in depth into the plans. There was stuff about like a toxic fucking landfill, where the fumes from the toxic landfill would have spread over to the residential area that's down there. It would have been a 750 capacity car park, which there isn't really a road near here that can satisfy the capacity for that. All the extra cars and traffic that would come in, I don't think they'd be able to handle it. And also the fact that it's a training ground for QPR, you're going to be getting an awful lot of footballers and fucking Lamborghinis and bullshit coming down here. And also to get this place built, because things take fucking ages to get built, don't they? So this place would have taken like 10 years to get built, and they estimated that there would be a 18-wheel lorry coming every hour, every day, bar Sunday, for 10 years down like one little road that isn't very equipped to handle 18-wheel lorries. So that all seemed like a recipe for disaster. That didn't seem like it was going to go very well. So I didn't like any of that. And I also, even just the fact that it's a place that means a lot to me, the fact that they were going to do such a terrible thing to it. And so there's a few little communities and like people's groups. Lager can do a lot of the litter picking and stuff and help try and make this place clean. So I've come here and like litter picked with them a few times. There's Save Warren Farm, the campaign. They tend to do Kickstarters and fundraisers and stuff for legal battles, and they kept taking QPR to court over various things like, oh, this is a public right of way, or oh, there's an endangered bird here, or whatever, right? And QPR had to keep fighting all this stuff for years and years and years, and QPR fans were sitting there going, where's our fucking training ground? And the people that live here would be like, yeah, but what about the fucking birds though? And that just it was a rock and a hard place, and nothing was ever going to get done. And I think QPR realised that, and when the pandemic hit, QPR pulled out. They were like, this isn't, I see why you're trying to give it to us for free, this is a fucking joke. So they pulled out, and so it seemed like we'd won. And I celebrated, and I was very, very happy, and I started coming here a lot more. And I was so, so proud of this community for being able to stand up to basically the big corporate man, essentially, And that was pretty sweet that we were able to do that. And then a couple of years later, we get a new head of Ealing Council. All that time, that was Julian Bell's doing, right? Who'd been in since, I think, 2002 or something like that. He's Labour, and the new guy, Peter Mason, is also Labour. I've spoke to him, he's all right, but, you know, he then allowed this place to get, you know, gifted to Southall FC in much the same way. Now, have you ever heard of Southall FC? I fucking hadn't, right? It's a very small football club, which they advertise like, oh, it's going to be better. We're not going to need the entire place. We're only going to demolish some of it. So they start sniffing their nose around, trying to do what QPR was doing before. And it's like, come on, if we manage to defeat QPR, we can defeat these twats. So the guy that runs Ealing Council, the guy that is the MP for Ealing South, which is where Southall is, so Southall FC is in Southall, and Southall is constitutionally called Ealing South. The MP for Ealing South is a guy called Virender Sharma, right? And his son and his grandson run Southall FC, right? And I went to a protest the other day, like 2 years ago now, and after the protest, when we stood outside Ealing Council's building, basically protesting and that, there was like 4,000 of us. And we weren't allowed to climb the steps and do speeches from the steps. They had just had guards there. Despite the fact that no one, like the building was basically closed for public access anyway, why couldn't we have just gone up there and done the speech from up there? Because they don't want people, like the word getting out and that kind of thing. But I'm sure they would have some little excuse like, oh, but you need to fill this document 7 years in advance to make sure this happens. It's like, well, yeah, why have you set it up that way so that people can't climb the fucking stairs to actually do the hearing from there? It's just ridiculous. So yeah, after that, right, some of the most important people to this campaign, the Save Warren Farm campaign, are brought into like a council meeting, right? And so we go to the cinema and we watch the council meeting on a big screen, right? So there's a few little highlights from this meeting that I remember. I think the main one is at the beginning, and I presume this is just a formality that they always do, is that they say, anyone that has any conflict of interest, please stand up now and exclaim what those conflicts of interest are unto the rest of us. And, you know, guess who's not at that meeting? Virender Sharma. Now, I think that my family members running the club that want to build over this land is a massive, massive conflict of interest. But if you just don't turn up to the meeting, then you can avert that. Apparently, you can just get around that, right? And so that was fun. That was great. Then there's a bit later on where this really like twattish woman, she starts sort of saying, she asks 3 questions, right? 2 of them are like actual questions, and the third one is like, so who is it that you're looking to disenfranchise here? Because there's not enough football grounds in the area anyway for all these children to play. So are you trying to disenfranchise young people or the disabled or both? That kind of thing, right? And the woman who answers the question, who's trying to defend Warren Farm, she doesn't answer that question because it's a stupid gotcha type question. It's meaningless. So the woman who asked the stupid questions, she said, well, you didn't answer my question. Who is it that you're trying to disenfranchise? Is it poor? Is it young people? Or is it the disabled? It's like, shut the fuck up. Honestly. The idea of the right to play football in a place where there's already football fucking fields everywhere, right, is more important than saving various like birds and flowers and shit from going extinct. It's like, look, I understand that football is a massive cultural thing and we're a little bit like enamored with it, but seriously, we're just gonna let fucking skylarks go extinct in the UK just so that we can play a game of fucking five-a-side? Honestly, it really pisses me off that. So skylarks basically are these really cool birds that they float and they hover like that, just in place, right? And they hover basically over their eggs. So wherever they're hovering, if you just think downwards, that's where their eggs are. And so in the summer, you're not actually allowed to walk on the grass because that's where the eggs are incubating and that kind of thing. So yeah, the skylarks are here. They're really neat. I came here about 4 or 5 years ago with the Save Warren Farm people who had brought some bat experts on board. And the bat experts basically walked around with a big iPad with a bat app on it. and they would like they'd hold it up like this and they go, oh, there's a bat. And then they would say, oh, wow. And they look really excited by this bat. And I'd just see like a little flap in a tree, because it was nighttime, obviously, because they're bats. So, you know, it meant nothing to me, but they kept getting excited over rare fucking bats. So that was pretty neat. I saw a tortoise here once under a rock. What else have I seen? Some like squirrel or some shit that's apparently like a rare type of squirrel. I don't know. I don't massively care about like the animal side of it. Obviously I do. I don't want them to go extinct, and I'm glad that there is that element to help, you know, boost the point that this place is valuable. But it doesn't mean much to me personally, although I would rather we didn't make the animals go fucking extinct. So what matters most to me is the community and the opportunity that this place gives for young creatives. It's basically a playground to bring your camera, to bring your, you know, mad idea and just do it here, because, you know, this place is free and you can do whatever you want here essentially, as long as you don't hurt anybody. That's basically it, right? And going into the future, they want to get rid of this place, and they want to build like 7 football pitches, which, sure, maybe that won't take over the entire field, but, you know, might as well. And also the whole point of having something like this is just a place where you can get away from it all. And sure, I can understand that maybe the buildings are dangerous, they have asbestos in them, maybe like that, you know, in the long term, someone is really going to get fucking hurt on one of these buildings, and I don't want that to happen. Obviously, I don't want that to happen, right? But I feel like there must be some way that we can maybe keep the essence of what this place is, right, whilst improving the health and safety. Just these empty buildings where you're free to kind of do what you want, right? Maybe, like, I don't know what you would even call this sort of thing, but you know what? My life would be so much worse if it weren't for this pile of rubble. You know, it's really quite near and dear to me, and it's one of the most important places of my life. I just cannot stress that enough. Yeah, since I've been coming here, it's just only gotten better and better, and some of my favourite memories are here, and I've said some of those memories today. Yeah, I've done loads of footage here. I've done a few videos here. Some of the Jonny Mozza talky sort of videos, I filmed them here. One of my first ones to go semi-viral is up there. We filmed it up that. And yeah, to be honest, as the buildings opened up, if you go inside them, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. Like, you know, in the one that's behind the camera, I really should have faced the camera the other way, because most of my anecdotes seem to be about that side. Inside there is a like indoors gymnasium, but it's all abandoned and stuff, so it kind of looks like it's out of Fallout or something. So that's quite fun. There's a safe in there. The safe is open, and someone's cracked to the bottom of the safe to get into the sub-safe or whatever it's called, right, and proper clean the place out. There's loads of copper here, which I'm surprised someone hasn't taken and tried to pawn off. You know, I'm really surprised that's not happened yet. I don't know how it's not happened yet. This stuff's been here for years. There must be a reason, right? Like, people that collect copper and like that would do that kind of illegal thing, they've just left it here. And I'm really surprised by that. I'm not advocating for them to do it, by the way. I'm just surprised that they haven't. Yeah, there's not much else to say. It's just, I wanted to talk about this place for a while, and it's an interesting story of the people versus the man, right? Because QPR got their ass handed to them. And Southall FC, I intend for us as a community to hand their ass back to them as well. There's words I want to use to describe Virender Sharma and Southall FC that I can't use, because this is a public broadcast essentially, and it's you know, there's legal things and stuff, but I don't like him. I've met him once. He's a miserable little shit. So yeah, that's. It's just strange that some of the people that like are your enemies, like the politicians and stuff, you meet them in real life and they're really squivelly, quite mousy people that look like just they look like they're depressed. They don't look happy. And yeah, I find that kind of strange. I find that kind of bit bizarre how that happens. And yeah, I don't know how to really wrap this up other than I hope that you've got something out of this video. Maybe you can relate to it in the sort of way that maybe you've got a place similar to this, or maybe you've got a place that isn't anything like this, but you know, they're trying to take it away from you so they can build some bullshit over it. And if you have got something like that, and please talk about it in the comments. I'd love to, because I feel like this is surely a more universal experience than just a Warren farm. It's, you know, everyone in every country has something like this. And I'd like to hear about it. I'd like to know that I'm not alone in having this place that means so much to me, despite the fact that, you know, everyone around me, it looks like shit, it looks like nothing. And, you know, it's not nothing, it is something. It really is something. And yeah, that's basically the video. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a good rest of the day. And yeah, take care, everybody. Bye-bye. I had to sit on two bricks this entire time because yeah, it's a wreck. I'm gonna walk off into the background. Go this way. Hello everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I would like to talk to you about artificial intelligence, or AI as it's often known as now. I mean, I suppose that's what it is. That's what AI stands for, artificial intelligence. So anyway, it's been something that for the past few years has slowly crept its way into the mainstream, from becoming this kind of sci-fi kind of concept. In the future, at some point, AI will take over, to we're now in the point where AI is in the process of taking over. You can only look at the writers' strikes from last year to get an idea of what was going on within Hollywood regarding its response to AI and the fundamental rejection of AI by the writers of Hollywood, and fairly rightly so, in my opinion. In 2021, I and a good friend of mine who's going to be part of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, we made a film called Connie Lynn, and it was made with a proto version of ChatGPT. So at the time it was just called GPT-3, and this was way before ChatGPT and way before the current idea of people using AI being associated with sort of right-wing, crypto bro kind of grifter types. You know, now there's that association with that type of person and that type of content. AI is seen as this utter slop that's just slapped together. You know, you've got people that make entire channels just with AI voices, with AI scripts, about stuff that the person creating the video has absolutely no interest in and no passion for whatsoever. They're just chasing trends and just chasing whatever they think will get them some views. And when me and my friend Lee, we made Connie Lynn, there wasn't any of that going on with AI. And when we were making Connie Lynn, AI was kind of a fun, novel sort of thing. And the idea of making a feature film, a live action feature film using AI was something that was kind of novel. And we wanted to really do something with that. And whenever we would pitch the idea to people, like we go to film festivals and stuff, and we would pitch the idea to people, we would always get like, oh, wow, that sounds really interesting. Oh my God, that sounds so interesting. And I'm sure that if we were to pitch that idea now, a film made entirely with AI, you get an awful lot of, oh yeah. Okay, I need to go talk to him over there. I'll be, yeah. And they try and duck out the conversation, and fairly so in my opinion, because my opinion on AI has changed an awful lot since 2021. At the time, I was very much of the opinion that AI was going to be this semi-good thing. It was obviously going to be, I had this feeling that it was going to be bad for humanity in the long run, but in the short term, it could at least be good for small-time creators and that kind of thing. To help them establish their vision in ways that they wouldn't have been able to do before. It was a new tool alongside, the digital camera or non-linear editors, for instance. These were things that democratized the filmmaking process and allowed people to make films that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to make. You saw a huge rise in films throughout the 90s that made use of really small budgets. You've got stuff like Clerks, you've got stuff like The Following, you've got stuff like, I've forgotten the name of it. What's the guy who was in Spy Kids? He did the film where the guy's running around for $7,000. Probably, I don't know, no, they've got pesos in Mexico, haven't they? But it was the equivalent of $7,000 at the time. And now, you wouldn't need even $7,000 to make a film like that. You could make a film like that for maybe $500 or $1,000 now. And I think that something really good about that was that it simply made the process of making stuff, your own content, easier. However, with AI, my overly good nature maybe got in the way of my foresight, because very quickly after that film came out, and with the advent of ChatGPT and quite convincing AI voices, I mean, convincing in the sense that if you were just like blindly listening, not really paying attention, you could vaguely, oh yeah, that's AI, yeah, that kind of thing. It wouldn't be an immediate kind of thing compared to like the Microsoft text-to-speech of 10 years ago. And I do worry about AI quite a lot, and I was worried about AI at the time, and it felt like people weren't treating the threat of AI seriously. For instance, now one of the biggest complaints about AI and surrounding AI is the copyright infringement. Since a lot of these AI models are based off of feeding as much media and websites and films and music and so on into it, so that it can learn and understand from a wide variety of sources, so that it can then regurgitate things in different contexts. I mean, you've seen stuff like DALL-E 2 and DALL-E 3, which infamously had Stutter Shock logos, half baked into some of their images, because they were just taking copyrighted images with the watermark still on them and just regurgitating them. And I still don't think that that's the biggest problem with AI. I think the biggest problem with AI is humanity's short-sighted nature. We're a species that don't tend to look beyond the next 10, 20 years. The idea of the year 2050 is this long distant thing. The same way that the year 2025 was long distant to people coming into the millennium. And now the year 2025 is coming in a couple months, and the future is now. And 2000 at one point was the future compared to people in like 1980. And now 1984 was originally a science fiction dystopia, and now it's set 40 years in the past. So you've got this continual passage of time that is just going to march on no matter what. And we need to really adjust our thinking to the long term, because the advent of AI has fundamentally changed the nature of creativity permanently, and it's never going to go back to the way it was. And we need to really figure out our shit now, right now, because if we don't, we're going to end up losing a lot of the heart and soul that goes into a lot of media. For instance, have any of you ever been emotionally moved by a piece of AI-driven content? I imagine not. I imagine you haven't. And I imagine that when you've seen things that are AI generated, you feel, similarly to me, this kind of empty feeling, like you're not watching something real, almost like you're watching an advert for Sainsbury's or something like that, where it's not this thing that's designed to make you feel. It's designed to keep your eyeballs glued. You've got an awful lot of channels now which are just AI pumping videos out, 5-6 times a day. And I know I make 2 or 3 videos a day, but at least it's me. This is all me. The camera is here. I'm out in the park. This is a real thing. I mean, look. That's a real microphone. This is a real face. There's a real stuff that's going on, as far as you know. And I think that 10 years from now, a video like this might not be even possible, because you could make it and people will immediately suspect. And that suspicion is what's going to drive so much negativity going forward. We're going to see an awful lot of true artistic ventures dismissed utterly because people assume that they're made by an artificial intelligence, that it wasn't a real human creating things. And it's a bit sad, because AI does have some legitimate good uses and things that I think can be really fun. Like there's this video thing, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a music video from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for the song Iron Lung. And it's a really fun music video, because it's the AI going completely balls to the wall and just doing whatever the hell it feels like. And it was guided by a human quite in depth. And you can kind of tell that it was very specifically crafted. It wasn't just like they let the thing run for 9 minutes. It was really deliberately put together. And stuff like that is going to get overtaken by things that are just corporately driven or profit driven. Maybe not by corporations, but by you know, people that are just trying to make a living off of content rather than true expressions of themselves through any kind of artistic vision. And I don't think that we're going to see an improvement in this regard. I don't think that we're going to see AI becoming this thing where it becomes more artistic. We're going to start seeing more slop. We're going to start seeing more things that get put into our eyeballs where we're having to judge. Is that AI? And we're going to have to be thinking that all the time in the future. Is that AI? Is that not AI? Is that, what's that? Is that something that's going to be, yeah, that doesn't feel real. And, you know, it might become a case where someone who doesn't have the greatest artistic vision, where their film or their song or their book might be a bit all over the place. It might feel a bit generic. They might have been drawing from, you know, your basic kind of contemporaries, rather than trying to do something truly unique. And that is totally fine to do. However, going forwards, we're going to start seeing a suspicion that these people are using AI, and I think there's going to be an immediate dismissal, a rightly so dismissal. However, it is going to cause a lot of problems for small creators, and I thought it wasn't going to cause problems for small creators. I thought it was going to be similar to the advent of the internet and streaming platforms like YouTube and Amazon Prime, where they were able to democratize the filmmaking process. And they really did. I mean, if you look at the sort of films that I've been making, I couldn't have made these films 30 years ago, not just because I wasn't born 30 years ago, but if I was this age 30 years ago, I couldn't go out and make a film like Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. I couldn't just grab a camera and make something that feels semi-professional, with audio that sounds this clear, that with you know, visuals that look HD. I mean, HD didn't even really exist back then. So you didn't have the ease of access to creativity like you do now. I mean, if you wanted to make music, you would have gotten your 4-track tape recorder, and you would have put together some demos, and then you would have taken those demos to a studio, and you would have worked on them, and you'd have refined them. And it felt like it was something of a privilege to be creating in that regard, for in a way that other people could actually see it, and not just something to show to your friends, and people would go, oh yeah, oh, well done, yeah, great, that's really nice. They could sound more genuine than that, by the way. I'm not trying to say that no one cared. But with AI going forwards, it's going to, if anything, democratize films so much, it's going to make things so easy to create that there's not really going to be a point in creating. Where does the artistic license end for humanity? When does our ability to tell interesting and unique stories get overtaken by a machine that doesn't really feel and think and have experiences the way that humans do? And who's to say that that is a terrible thing? What happens if films get better as a result of AI? What happens if in 40 years we get one of the greatest films that's ever been made, time and time and time again, and better than, you know, Citizen Kane, better than Casablanca, better than all the classics, and it was all made by a computer? Some people would argue, fairly so, that a film created without the human element is inherently non-artistic. I disagree with the idea that art is inherently human. I think that it doesn't need to capture the human experience in order to be evocative towards humanity. I think the idea that art is a uniquely human expression is a bit short-sighted, not just because of AI coming in the future, when it might start to be able to create serious expressions of art, but let's take a hypothetical, right? Let's say, for the sake of argument, the aliens come down to Earth and they're fairly friendly and they're all very, very creative, and they make films, they make music, they make types of art that we can't even conceptualize, but they sit down, they show it to us, and our minds are just blown. Wow, what an incredible piece of art that was. I can't believe I got to see that. My life has felt irreversibly changed as a result of watching this thing. The same way it might, the inspiration that you might take from watching your favorite ever film for the first time, or you know, listening to an album that completely changed your life. It might be like that, but times 1,000, because we don't have any point of comparison yet. And the only point of comparison we have now, and it's a very recent point of comparison, is AI and the things that AI can make, which tend to be of not brilliant quality. I'm not out here to try and say that our film Connie Lynn is any kind of artistic masterpiece. It was more of an experiment into the idea of using new technology and to see what could be done in the future. It was very much a prototype, and if anything, I feel like it could be a part of history in a bit of a self-indulgent sort of way. It will be a part of history that Connie Lynn is one of, if not the first, live-action AI-driven piece of art. There were other things that were AI-driven beforehand, but it was kind of terrible on purpose, and it was the kind of thing you would see a video essayist on YouTube kind of go, "Ooh, wow, this film was made entirely with AI. Look at how bad it was. Look at how bad the mouth movements are. Oh, it's not even synced with the audio, and the audio sounds totally fake as well." You're going to end up seeing AI improve exponentially. Look at Siri 10 years ago, and then compare it to ChatGPT now. Because when people like to say that AI is terrible and it's unconvincing, and you might see a bit of AI struggle to conceptualize something quite basic, and you kind of jeer at it and go, "Ha ha, look, you know, I don't think I'm worried about AI taking over anytime soon." I think that's a bit short-sighted, because we were making the same jokes about Siri not being able to understand basic English 10 years ago, and now look at what ChatGPT can do compared to Siri. It's like the Super Nintendo compared to the PlayStation 4 in terms of the sheer amount of evolution that has happened, because it is exponential what's going on here, and it's only going to get faster, it's only going to get better, and the technology is only going to improve. ChatGPT 4 is so much better than ChatGPT 3, and when ChatGPT first was able to do maths, my mind was like, "Oh, fuck, okay, it can do maths now." I do use ChatGPT, however, I make a specific point to never ever allow it to take any kind of place in the artistic process outside of it being a voice to feed ideas to, and so it can give feedback on my ideas. So if I write a song and I write the lyrics for it, and I sort of think, "Ooh, these lyrics feel a bit pretentious," I'll copy paste the lyrics into ChatGPT and I'll be like, "These lyrics feel a bit pretentious to me. Can you do an in-depth critique of everything and analyze the themes alongside the greater context of the album that I've also told you about?" Because it now has a memory, it can remember certain things that you've talked to it about before. And it will come out with something pretty interesting. It will give me the sort of ideas that, like, okay, that line doesn't really work. Yeah, I get, but it's not that it tells me that's bad, so I go, okay, that's bad. It's that it goes, that is bad, and I kind of go, yeah, I kind of see what you mean. Yeah, I do kind of see what you mean. However, your idea for it, I'm not going to use. And if I am going to use it, I'm going to completely change the way that it works, because the AI can't actually conceptualize my artistic vision. All it can do is put one word after the other, because it's a language-based, it's a language model, ChatGPT is. It's a language model where the whole point of it is it just puts one word after the other in a way that it thinks is coherent. It has no ideas truly of human conversation and structure towards a sentence or a paragraph. It has basic ideas of grammar and stuff like that, and it can string words and sentences together in a way that feels convincing. However, it will tell you utter bullshit with the most sincerest of hearts. And then you'll point out the blatant flaws and it will go, oh yes, my bad, my apologies. Yeah, no, you're actually completely right. Yeah, it is like this. And then it will just start putting in what you said was the actual correct answer. Like if you put into ChatGPT, say, I haven't tested this, but if you put in, this film is really good because the characters are really well developed. It will go, yes, the characters are really well developed, and then it will go, this character has this quality that means it's well developed, and this character has this quality that means it's well developed, and this character does this which changes across the course of the film, which makes it quite developed. And you'll go, hang on, that character didn't change, what are you talking about? That character was introduced at the end of the film. And it'll go, oh yes, you're completely right, my apologies. Actually, it's like this, the way that you said it. And then you can just make up something completely different and it will just go along with it. And that's what it does. It's not something that's completely advanced now. However, that's not to say that it won't advance. I see AI less like a tool, less like the advent of the internet, and less like the advent of smartphones or YouTube or digital cameras. And I see it more like nuclear weapons. I feel like as nuclear weapons came out, they weren't something that could completely end the world. Like if we had 1,000 Hiroshimas and Nagasaki's, it would be a devastating travesty, obviously. However, it wouldn't have caused the nuclear winters and the absolute apocalypse that came with the advent of the hydrogen bomb and stuff like Tsar Bomba and other massive atomic bombs like that have yields of like billions of tons of TNT in a single missile. AI, as it gets better and more intelligent, is going to be able to be used for evil. And at the moment it's being used by quite scuzzy grifters to try and make themselves a quick bit of cash. There's a certain point in time when it's going to start being used by terrorists. The classic example, I don't know much about this, I've read it before, is that you can make diseases, you can code a disease, and you could get not ChatGPT, but you could get an artificial intelligence model to create a artificial disease that you could then put together in a laboratory and then spread out to the world. And you could put in all the worst genetic sort of things to make sure that it spreads as fast as possible and does as much damage in the way that maybe it doesn't cause damage straight away, but it allows it to spread first. It would be like, if you ever play Plague Inc., imagine you had like unlimited points in Plague Inc. That's what AI is going to be able to do potentially. And I really hope that it doesn't come to that. I hope that, I hope that regulation comes like very, very, very soon, but part of me feels like it might already be too late. I don't like AI, I despise it. However, that's not to say that the few positives that it can have should be completely neglected. I feel like ChatGPT can be quite useful. I like to sometimes put old journal entries in it and ask it about what my thought process might have been at the time, or like, do you think that I did the right thing in this situation? Or I might put a script into it and go like, what do you think about these characters and going into this circumstance? Or I might put a song into it and go, what do you think of this? Or I might get it to generate a piece of imagery just as an idea, as a blueprint that I can then develop the idea on my own and then do my idea properly. So I can give it the prompt, I want it to make a album cover of a butterfly in a museum exhibit surrounded by people dressed in 1950s, 60s kind of outfits, kind of an Americana style thing. And it will pump that out. And obviously I would feel very immoral actually using that piece of artwork, although I wouldn't use artwork in quotes. I would say it does technically count as art. However, I don't think that this art is intrinsically moral. I think it's intrinsically immoral, but not necessarily because of the copyright infringement, although that is certainly a part of it, but that's a minor part to me. The major part of me is that as the AI develops, we are creating an existential threat for humanity. And I feel like we're not taking that seriously because, as I said earlier, humanity is an extremely short-sighted species. We don't look far into the future. We're not thinking about the year 2050 as anything other than a figment of our imaginations where we'll have fixed everything by then. You know, let alone the year 2100. I might be alive in the year 2100. I might not be. If I live to the age of 102, I might be alive. However, that just seems so far in the future to me. And, you know, 1950 is further away than the year 2100. Yeah, it is. No, it's slightly, it's about that, okay? And 1950 doesn't feel like a totally different time. It feels certainly like a different time. It certainly feels like it's a bit alien to me. And I'm sure if I was suddenly plonked into this exact spot in 1950, I would be quite confused, and I would probably commit a fair few social faux pas. I would speak weird, and people would point that out. And you know, my moral system that I use in the 21st century wouldn't be applicable in the 1950s, the same way that my moral system in the 2020s won't apply to someone living in the 2110s, for instance. However, the 2110s isn't that far away. It's not that far. It's obviously not the immediate future. However, just because it's not going to happen within the next election cycle or whatever, doesn't mean it's never going to happen, and it's just something that shouldn't be worth thinking about. It's something that annoys me with the discourse around climate change, and particularly the continual reliance on oil. Not that I'm supporting groups like Just Stop Oil. I'm going to stay neutral on that. But oil is predicted to run out in the year 2050, right? What are we going to do then? Because 2060 isn't that far away. It's 36 years away. Someone that's born now will only be 36 years old, and we don't think of someone being 36 years old as being like an old person. We see them as being a fairly youngish person. Not like, you know, an absolute young'un, but certainly someone that hasn't yet reached middle age, someone that isn't particularly old. And we're going to reach a point in the future where we're going to be faced with these existential threats, and we should deal with them now rather than sit on them and procrastinate and allow them to unravel and overtake our humanity and our art. So I think that's going to be everything. If you want to check out Connie Lynn, it's going to be in the description. It's on Amazon Prime. I think you've got to buy it. So sorry about that. But it's not going towards AI, and we're not using AI anymore. It's not a part of my workflow in terms of actually using it for any artistic vision the way that I was using it for that. Because with that, I fed the script into it, we got it to make a new script, and then we put the film out. We filmed the film according to the AI, and we let the AI be the guide in voice, because at the time that was a novel thing, and it's not a novel thing anymore. It's not cool and hip and new. Now it's quite scary, you know. It'd be like us making a pro-smoking film in 1960. It's still just about, but if we'd made that in 1975, people would sort of go, oh, it's a bit odd making a pro-smoking film. It's a strange analogy, I know, but whatever. If you want to check it out, then please do. Your support means the world to me and to all of my fellow collaborators and my friends, and what I would consider my family in a way. And going forwards, my approach to AI is this. I use it merely as like a personal assistant, and I think if it starts to get, and when it inevitably starts to get worse, I think I'm going to become more Luddite with my approach regarding AI technology. And I'm going to become more unnerved by it, because I'm already pretty unnerved. In fact, I actually made a video on this exact topic about 5 years ago, before the advent of ChatGPT, and even when GPT-3 and the idea of OpenAI was barely even a thing. I actually came up with this idea about 10 years ago, when AI was Siri and what's the Windows thing? I don't even know. Cortana, that's it. you know, when those were the cutting edge, I realized that going forwards, the AI is going to get better exponentially, and as it does, it's going to overtake human creativity at some point. And all we can do is we can continue to support each other as fellow humans. And there's going to become a point when something being made by humans is going to be almost a selling point. It's going to be, oh wow, this film feels very true to life and very human. And the phrase, it's a very human feeling film. I've been using the phrase naturalistic for, and humanistic for my film, Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, which to me at the present means it feels like a real conversation between humans, the way that I have them in real life, the way that I talk with my friends and my family and my fellow peers. However, I feel like in 40 years, the term humanistic film will just mean a film that is made by humans. And that unnerves me. However, we can't sit in the dark and act like the future isn't going to happen, because it is. And I don't know what to do about it. I don't have the answers. All I can do is try and raise awareness for this cause that, you know, there's already quite a lot of awareness around it already. However, I wanted to add to the discourse, essentially. I don't have anything particularly fresh or new to add to it, but I just wanted to add to it in my own way and give you some of my experiences, because AI can be quite useful. It can help democratize film. However, I think that we're playing with fire. I really, really do. And if you do see a film that is using AI for some interesting artistic purpose, then do check it out, do recommend it to us in the comments, and let's get some discourse going around the topic of AI, because I don't quite know what to make of it, and I feel like I've gone around the same few ideas now for what feels like a long time. So I'm gonna call it quits for here. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Joshua Morrison. Watch Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence when it comes out, made completely by humans. There's a lot of people walking back and forth, but I feel like that kind of adds to it. I love this this little thing. You can do a bit of this. It's sweet, isn't it? It's brilliant, isn't it? I like coming here sometimes and sitting and watching the sunset. Sunset sets in that direction. Sets over there. Here's a shot of it, actually. It's cool, isn't it? Da-da-down, da-da-down and out. Ooh, my arse is wet. Hey up, everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the idea of commodifying your life for content, which is, in a bit of a cynical way, what I'm doing at the moment, really. I mean, what are these videos if not me just wandering around rambling my soul out onto the camera, right? Think about this. In a technological sense, anyone out there could take all of these videos, compile my voice into a series of data sets with various moods, emotions, and so on and so forth. I've done a bit of anger, I've done a bit of sad, I've done a bit of happy, etc., right? Put all of that in some kind of AI algorithm sort of thing, and then just make my voice say whatever it wants. You could have my voice say all sorts of things that I would never agree with. And what am I to do about it? Because I've commodified my life for the sake of YouTube money, right? That's basically what this is, essentially. And every sort of person on the internet that you follow that has a bit of a following or whatever, that makes videos or streams or whatever, they're all doing it. Every single one of them. And they all grapple with this idea of like, how do we take the fact that one, this is a job, even if it's a side hustle, it's still a job, it's something that you do semi-professionally, right? You combine that with the fact that you have a private life outside of this. Particularly if you're doing the sort of thing that I'm doing, which is the whole earnest sort of thing, where part of what you like about these videos is the fact that you think that I'm sort of being myself. And I basically am. Like, I mean, I'm being a bit more dictatorial about it, and I'm enunciating my words a little bit more, and I'm not mumbling and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, in certain conversations, you know, I'll be a little bit different. I'll be a bit different with my friends, then a little bit different with my parents, etc., right? As we all are, because we're not all completely one note. If you meet me in real life, I might not be exactly like this. I might be having a bad day. I might be a little bit, yeah, you're right. Yeah. You might not even be able to pick that up on the mic. That's how much I'm mumbling, right? So I think every big or small creator, YouTuber that is doing this on a level where they're making any kind of money from this, because I am now technically making money on this. So no longer, I think, are my opinions and the way that I preach things, are they completely innocent anymore? Because now I have money behind me from one of the biggest companies in the fucking world, Google, right? And like, I'll probably take sponsorships. I'm not someone that will say, "Ooh, no, I'm too pure for sponsors." That's not necessarily, I'm not going to take some bloody scam thing. I'm not just going to promote any old shite, but I'll still take some sponsorships at some point. I'll monetize this channel in various ways. Like, the idea is to make money, and I don't think you should hide that fact, because every fucking YouTuber does it. The only difference is that some of them won't tell you that they're doing it for money, right? And it's not like I will sell various aspects of the authenticity of these videos for the sake of money. I wouldn't do that, because I do have some level of responsibility with this platform to use it for good, right? And I started thinking, like, I have like, what, 5,500 subscribers now. I've got like 800 returning viewers according to the analytics, which means that's people that return to each video, pretty much all of them, and they comment and they're fans and all that sort of stuff, right? So I've got people that will follow this and listen to what I have to say. So should I be using this platform to promote good causes? Well, in a way, yes, I should. That would be the good moral thing to do, because it would help, all the hungry people out there that are out there in the world. It would help all the people that are being impoverished or stuck in war zones or whatever, right? There's loads of horrible stuff going on in the world, and I could use this platform to try and, quell some of it, even if it's like just helping one person. That would be good. But at the same time, when you're watching TV and the adverts come on and it's like, "Ugh, this starving child in Africa is so sad and it needs your help," and it's like, shut the fuck up. I don't care. And it's like, obviously you do care about like the fact that there's starving people in the world, and that makes me feel terrible, but I don't want to feel terrible right now. I want to feel happy and watch some dumb shit on the internet, I don't want to think about the fucking wars that are going on, the genocides that are going on, and all the bloody starving people, the billions of people that are going hungry right now. But that's from a place of privilege where I can actually say that and not give a shit, right? So should I be using the platform to promote more good causes? And I sort of sat and I thought about that, and it's kind of, well, yeah, but you don't want to YouTubeify yourself either, because he goes on, he's always banging on about something, isn't he? Radiohead has started doing it. They bang on about whatever the new cultural issue is. And if you do that, you end up getting sucked in, because there's so many of them. There's so many of these issues that are going on. If you talk about one, then you get done for not talking about the other. And there's all of them. If I try and talk about all of them, that one means I've got to research more, which I don't have time for. I'm making videos and I'm making films and I've got life to live, right? And two, it also means that it ends up introducing yourself into this endless fucking culture war where there's people on both sides that are annoyed at the other one for supporting this and not supporting that. And like, I've done a video all about that specific topic, on trying to stay apolitical while still having beliefs and core values, because I do think that those things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Like, I, for instance, am on the left side of politics, and I will stand by my politics on that side. But at the same time, I will try and tune out the overwhelming amount of crap that gets fed onto you by this platform, YouTube, right? And all the other ones, all the Twitters and the Facebooks, you scroll down them, it's just like, Jesus Christ, it's depressing, the stuff that's coming out of these things, and the way everyone gets so agitated and arsy of one another. And I don't appreciate that, so I kind of want this to be a haven from that, but at the same time, that means that I'm leaving random issues to be, go unspoken about, right? So I don't know in terms of that. And at the same time, if I have a platform and I say the wrong thing, not in terms of like offending someone or whatever, but I just mean in terms of giving the wrong advice, giving the wrong idea across, or maybe even if I just phrase what I'm saying poorly so that you take the wrong idea from it, and that ends up impacting you in a negative way. I don't want to do that kind of thing, because I'm just some guy. I get stuff wrong all the time, just the same way that you do, or that bloody they do, or whoever is out there, And what am I going to do in regards to, say, if this channel really grows and grows and grows, and it gets, say, 1 million subscribers? Let's pray for that, right? How am I going to? Because I feel like I'm understanding why YouTubers are the annoying way that they are, because it's this draw like I feel this negative sort of draw, almost this like black light that's trying to get me to be a bit more of this annoying, stereotypical, like, you know, smash that like button and all that bullshit, right? You know, I know I want to subscribe to this channel. I like the videos. I'm going to subscribe. You don't need to keep fucking telling me, right? It annoys me when people do that. So I never tell. I might talk, say, you know, leave a comment, right, about certain things. I might raise a question for the sake of it, for the sake of like. But then also, that's not totally innocent either, because I'm doing it to drive engagement, right? So nothing here is totally innocent, right? And this is me telling this to you quite honestly and earnestly, right? Which again is another form of manipulation. Everything every fucking YouTuber does to try and deceive you into forming this parasocial relationship is deceptive in some form, even if they have good intentions by it, right? And like, I can't now sit here and say I have good intentions. I do, but it's hard for me to say that because I'm here giving you the kind of insider look, at least what I think is the insider look, onto how these larger channels operate and how, not necessarily how they logistically operate, but how they emotionally operate and how they sort of see what's going on and how they think about the audience and the reason that they're making these videos and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I do kind of start to understand it now. I understand why they put the, you know, the smash that like button bullshit on there. I see why they do the Mr. Beast style fucking thumbnails. I see why they do the, hey guys, all the fucking shouting and swearing and all that stuff. I kind of get it, right? Because I've had the impulse to try and do that for the sake of my own viewership and the sake of growing my channel, because that's what it's all about. It's all a fucking numbers game, right? Recently, I watched Animator versus Animation, the Green Influencer arc, which is a really shit title for it should have been called like Animation versus Influencers or something like that. But anyway, the whole point of it is there's these little stick figures that live in the desktop computer world, right? And they can press buttons, they can go on Chrome, they can play solitaire, all this sort of stuff, right? And one of them becomes a YouTuber and they start becoming this TikTok head and like they get really annoying about it and they start to alienate their friends because of the content that they're making. Not necessarily the content they're making, but how they're treating everything around them, right? That's kind of what is going on here. And he ends up isolating himself in a realm of numbers and analytics. And you know what? I felt myself doing that. I was at the pub the other day and I was looking at the analytics app on my phone and I said to my mate, I really need to uninstall this app because it's taken over my life. And he went, yep. Wasn't like a, no, don't worry about it. It was like a full, yep. Like clearly, yes, you are. So I've uninstalled the analytics app on my phone. It's still on the desktop computer and it's still on the laptop because I can't uninstall Chrome really, or because then I'll just get Internet Explorer and I'll just do it on that. You know, and I've uninstalled the app before and then re-downloaded it. And then uninstalled it again and re-downloaded it. So there's no necessarily escaping these numbers on this drive because I know what each one of those fucking views means. It means that someone has bothered to click on this. I know what seeing 150 fucking search terms for one of my videos means. It means that people clearly like it so much they've gone out their way to Google it, and in some of those circumstances it's them watching it on their own. Some circumstances will be like maybe you've got a mate round and you show them one of my videos. I met someone who they said that they were a fan of my videos and they said they watched them with their boyfriend. Hello to them. They know who they are. And yeah, it's amazing to know that that is what each of those numbers and those bars on the fucking graph mean, right? But at the same time, it's very easy to get the fucking money eyes and to become very greedy about it. And I understand why they become so greedy about it now. The general YouTubers out there, you know how you find a YouTuber and they're very, very good, and then they sell out and they get worse and they become some really annoying personality, or they become a alt-right grifter or whatever, right? And they just become a generally unpleasant person. You're sick of them by that point, right? I worry that that would happen to me. I don't want to become like that because that feels like it would be me selling my soul, my personality, and I feel like I'm already selling my soul in a weird little way. So I try and grapple with this idea that there are so many people out there that are engaging with what I'm doing and that like and appreciate and find inspiration from what I'm doing. There's been people who've said that they paint to my videos, that people that have made albums because of me, right? There are people that have like started to get their life back on track because of me, and like all sorts of positive experiences have come from me just walking around. Like the only way I make these videos, right? Do you know how I make them? Basically, I'm going to see a mate right now, right? I leave like 3 hours earlier than I need to, and I just wander around their local area and just do some videos That's all this is. I've got a lav mic here, right? It's attached to the phone, right? And then I get back, edit it, quick little sync the audio and the video, put the 4 free overlays on the side. Let's get rid of those. See, that's what this looks like. Let's take the color correction off. That's what this looks like. You know, it's not that good, is it? It's all right, I guess. Let's put it back. There we are. And this is basically all it is. It's not really some mad special operation or anything like that. And you know, I want to keep it like this for as long as possible. I don't want to corporatize this. I don't want to turn it into some kind of big production house. But at some point, I'm going to have to register myself as self-employed because I'm starting to make enough money that I need to actually do that. So that's something that needs to actually happen. So it's already corporatizing by default, okay? And yeah, sure, registering yourself as self-employed isn't exactly the same as opening up a 500 square meter office in Shoreditch or anything like that, but it's one step on the path to success, my path to success, which is different from your path to success, which is different from one of the commenters' path to success that you might have seen. Your friends will have various ways of getting to success because some of them are doing, like, I don't know, rising through the ranks of a retail job. Some of them might be getting into corporate stuff. Some of them might be doing this. I don't know, all sorts of things like that. And so if you're making videos like this and you're basically selling yourself and your voice to YouTube and the Google algorithm at large, right? I feel like the best way to take comfort in that is that you're not selling your soul necessarily to the company who have access and rights to repurpose and reuse your footage however they see fit. Neither is it to the, you know, the nasty, nefarious people that will be out there trying to manipulate what you say into something that you didn't mean. It's the people that take the inspiration, it's the people that find encouragement, and the people that start to set their lives right because of this, or even if they just find some comfort. This is the nice thing, they like to sit down and eat some food, have their dinner while they're watching these, or maybe they listen to them while they go to sleep and it's a nice little voice in the ear, or whatever, you know. Maybe you watch it while you're, like, it's a nice voice in your ear while you're at the gym or you're on the bus or whatever, you know. Or maybe you just sit and you just get pissed and stoned and you watch these videos. I put out a poll and asked how people watch these videos and what circumstances what people watch these videos, and I think it was like 16% get pissed and stoned while they watch these videos, and I think like 40% do it while they're eating food or doing chores around the house. So if you're doing that, if you're hoovering, hello, it's hard to hear over the sound of the hoover because, you know, it's quite loud. Unless you've got one of those new sort of automated hoovers, you know, the ones that kind of whoosh, sort of around like that. But then you wouldn't need to do the hoovering, so I don't know why that'd be a big deal. So anyway, I feel like this video is starting to run its course, so I'll kind of wrap it up by just saying, I don't actually know who that was. I'm sure I do, but it's someone that's, oh, sorry. I'm sure I do know who that was, but it's just someone that's like kind of, you know, you met them once and you remember a bit of a face, but not totally. I don't remember a name. Maybe I met them at a pub or something like that, not sure. Anyway, to wrap the video up, it's not that it feels like you're commodifying your life. It's that you get yourself down about this idea and you worry about it, and it's very easy to catastrophize and to see the worst. But at the same time, know that everything tends to work itself out to some degree, and that the issues that you're thinking of aren't really the issues that are the most important ones. And it'll be something that you can never anticipate that will become the real issue, right? What an ominous note to finish the video on. Yeah, don't worry about it because there's something way fucking worse over here. So, yeah, I suppose that's going to be it from me. Hope you managed to get something out of this. If you're a small creator that's started to get monetized, how are you grappling with the fact that now you have money behind you, you're no longer a completely innocent voice in this endless sea of voices, right? How do you cope with that fact? How do you learn and develop and grow into a person that can understand their position? So that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a good rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. I do have to look because I want to make sure the camera's still there, because it's a bit freaky, you know. Yep, still there. Because there's no one sitting behind the camera, it's just sat on the table. Alright, that's good. That felt like a long one.